Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 171. Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, Dr. Norge from the CGS forums, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim. I'm on vacation, so Sean is riding solo, so says the sensei of the whatnot, Stegall. I want to welcome everyone to a brand new Monday episode of Raging Bullets. We were just here at the end of last week, and I wanted to get you back with another episode. On this show, we're joined by Mandy Stegall from the forums, Super Mandy, who does Life in the Gutter. We're also joined by Ian Levenstein from Comic Timing. We have kind of an impromptu chat about comics in general, a lot of focus on the news coming out of the San Diego Comic-Con. There was so much news that we couldn't even contain it within this episode, but it's more of a casual show for us. Jim was going on vacation, so we wanted to record something for you guys, talking a little bit about San Diego. Ian joined us. It was great because Ian was there, so we get kind of the perspective of what it was like to actually be at the San Diego Comic-Con with 125,000 people from someone who was actually there. So, and a lot of DC-focused chat and things like that, so I hope you enjoy this episode. We're going to be back next week, early next week, with the first part of Superman for Tomorrow. Our sponsors for this episode are DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com, where you can pick up Arkham Reborn, number 1 of 3, written by David Hine, art and variant cover by Jeremy Hahn, cover by Fraser Irving. Following the black mass destruction of Arkham Asylum and the battle for the Cowl, Dr. Jeremiah Arkham has rebuilt the asylum, following the design of his mad uncle Amadeus. Intended as a model for enlightened treatment of mental illness, the building soon mutates into a torture house, and the inmates find themselves trapped in a living hell. And when Jeremiah starts hearing a voice from beyond the grave, it becomes painfully clear that the lunatics really have taken over the asylum. And this one spins out a battle for the Cowl, and it's really $2.99 off, 50% off, only $149. This one, I'm really excited for what's going on in Arkham right now. Actually, the whole Batman universe, and this is something that really has been, I can't believe they destroyed Arkham, so I'm curious to see what it's going to look like when it's rebuilt and how that affects Gotham City. World's Finest, number 104. This is another series, speaking of how much I'm enjoying Batman and Superman right now. We finally get from Sterling Gates, art by Julian Lopez, with covers by Phil Noto. We're going to get to see, finally, what the reactions are from the Superman crew to the changes in the Batman crew. You know, big changes on both ends. Superman's in space. How's he going to feel about what's going on? We're going to see Supergirl. I'm sure we're going to see, I know we're going to see Nightwing and Flameburger, actually, from the covers. This one has two covers. Cover A is going to feature Nightwing, and cover B is going to feature Red Robin. Both covers are available. It's 75% off. It's a $2.99 book. 75% off, only 74 cents. So really, you can get both books for under $150. So for anybody that likes, I'm it's 74 cents a piece. I know myself, for $150, I'm going to pick both covers to have the Nightwing and Red Robin cover myself. But that's kind of cool that you get those at 75% off, because honestly, even at 50% off, I'd probably say, considering my order, I might not get both covers. That's a big selling point for me. DCBService.com remains your pre-order source. I want to remind everyone, next Monday, it's going to be For Tomorrow, our first part. We're going to be just really dissecting the entire 12-issue For Tomorrow epic, Superman 204 to 215. If you haven't picked it up, I am going to be in the next few days asking them to swap over to Preacher, because that is going to be our next story. So I'll post on the website when that changeover happens, so you guys can know when you can start purchasing Preacher. But it is still available as of this listening if you're catching us early here. The Absolute Edition's regularly $75. 47% off, only $39.75. Chance to get that. Trade paperbacks, Volume 1 and Volume 2, if you haven't picked it up, 47% off, only $7.94 each. This is a great story to really delve into and talk about with a group of people, because it can be interpreted a lot of different ways. It was deliberately constructed in such a way that there was a lot open-ended. And I'm going to be curious to see, even this one, I can see a lot of interactivity with this one. We might be getting some listener voicemails during our dissection of this one. So that's Superman for Tomorrow. That is going to be our next episode. So definitely, if you haven't had a chance to grab it, do it now. Remember, orders of $50 or more gets free shipping. Thanks for supporting us, InStockTrades.com. We've been supporting the Hero Initiative since the Comics Podcast Network, which we're proud members of, has been supporting it. But this is one that actually, comicsforesight.com. This one's about John Ostrander. Gail Simone, I read a letter a couple episodes ago. She sent out a letter openly asking people to support John Ostrander. He underwent a surgical procedure called glaucoma filtration surgery. And this surgery treatment, like so many others, not only is it the surgery, but then it's the medications afterwards. And the problem is his health insurance didn't cover all the cost. This is trying to save his eyesight. This is a chance for all of us as a community. And comics, it's one of the nice things now. I remember as a child, I've talked about on the show before, comics were such an isolated thing. I read comics myself. I had friends growing up who read comics, but it really wasn't one of those hobbies where you had what we have now, these networks of people where you can talk about titles. A lot of my friends read different books than I did. So we would trade off, but we didn't always have like really deep discussions about our comics like we do today. We're very lucky to have that. One of the nice aspects about comics now for me is the community relationship, not only between fellow fans like myself, all of you, but also comic creators and the fans. I really do feel there is an outreach by most comic creators now to really connect with fans in a way that I just find really refreshing. I find that they're really open, down-to-earth people. For Gail Simone to kind of go out and write a letter about John Ostrander and just how great he was, and this is a great opportunity for all of us to kind of help this guy out. Losing your eyesight. This is somebody who's a writer. If you haven't heard people talk about his run on the Spectre, Suicide Squad, Star Wars, I could go on and on. This guy is a legend who is continuing to add new content to comics today. He's continuing to keep pushing us forward, and we got to do something to help out for this. I already donated. I threw out a donation myself. I mentioned that previously. All I'm asking is, please, if anybody out there, consider, the cost of a comic book, anything that you can donate to help this guy out. This is a chance for all of us to pull together and show the power of comic fandom, the power of this community of people. This is our hobby. This is our, entertainment. This is whatever it is. It's our art form. For those of you that are out there that are striving to become part of comics, there's a lot of you out there I know that want to be writers, artists, whatever, whatever involvement you have in comics is our chance to kind of do something for one of our own. This is one of our people, and it's our chance to do that. It's comics, COMIX, the number 4, SIGHT.com. It is going to be available in the show notes, so it'll be on our website, on your iPod, your computer screen, wherever. Comics Podcast Network, obviously, if you're getting our episodes from there, you can just click right on the link as well. Everywhere, I just mentioned, you can just click on the link, and please consider donating. If you're going to be at Wizard World Chicago, there's going to be an auction that you can help participate in. The great thing about this is any excess money donated goes to the Hero Initiative, which I'm a big believer in. So it's like, you can't do too much because then it's going to continue to carry over into the Hero Initiative, helping out comic creators who've made this hobby for us. I want this to be a rally cry, and I'm going to do this for, the next few episodes just to make sure that people out there, if you can't be there, the auction actually is going to be broadcast live as well, and information for that is available on comicsforesight.com. But I know I'm taking a lot of time in the show opening for this, but it does mean a lot to me. I've been reading multiple articles. There's another great interview with Gail Simone on Newsarama.com. I read over the website, and it's become something that I think is really important to me as well. I'm going to call it to people. We don't charge for this show by any stretch, and nor do I ever want to. We've been very lucky that people have donated because this show does cost something for us to put together. What I'm asking, if you've enjoyed our podcast, this is 171 shows. If you listen to one, if you've listened to 171, wherever you fall in there, consider, instead of maybe donating to the show this month, donate to John Ostrander. Help this guy out. So, do it as a thank you to Raging Bullets, do it as a thank you to this creator, whatever. I'm asking people, forget about us. Donate to this guy. We're talking about somebody's eyesight. I wear glasses, and it's frustrating to me. I can't imagine going through surgery. So that's kind of it for that. I'll step off my soapbox and let you get right into our show there. And, Jim, what kind of a podcast are we?
Well, we are a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth in plot lines, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're reviewing. So if we're going over something you haven't read, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
We are Crystal Men from Mercury. We have no quarrel with you.
One of the interesting things about trying to get out at least 4 episodes a month for a podcast is when people go on vacations, myself and Jim included, we need to have content in place. So we recorded multiple nights leading up to Jim's vacation to make sure that you had content today. This is a segment that we recorded. Actually, it was an impromptu segment. We had planned to have a discussion with Mandy Stegall that was going to be speeding bullets, and then Ian Levenstein joined in, who was at the Comic-Con from Comic Timing, and we ended up having a full episode that we got out of that. So that's the reason why we're back so soon. We wound up actually with more content than we expected, and I wanted to give it all to you because I thought it was a really great discussion. But we're kicking off this one just to kind of set this one up with a discussion with Mandy Stegall, our writer of Life in the Gutter for RagingBullets.com, as we're responding to some interesting commentary that she had about Action Comics 879, which about Chris Kent and, of course, actually Nightwing and Flamebird, the whole concept of Nightwing and Flamebird, and where those two characters might be heading. So it was interesting. I'm a big fan of her Life in the Gutter column that she does for us, so I wanted to make sure to kind of have an opportunity to talk about that and why it's so cool if you guys aren't checking it out at RagingBullets.com. You had an interesting part where you had a disagreement with us on Action Comics, so why don't you talk about that?
Oh, I was listening to the show, and I sit here and listen to it and probably doing some other things, and I just happened to... I think I heard Jim say something about, I don't think he's going to be around for very much longer, and because of who they are, they're going to end probably the way that things are going to go down is that one of them's going to sacrifice themselves for the other. And I just kind of perked up for a second, and I'm like, okay, so I took down a note, and got to thinking about it some more and listened to the rest of your conversation about it. And I just started thinking about it even more, and I went back and I reread the issue, and I think I even went and got out the annual and reread that, and was and I'm like, well, wait a second, he made it a point to say, or the narrator, I should say, went back and said, yeah, this is how things have gone down in the past, but that's not necessarily how it's going to go down this time. And I just thought, I'm like, see, he made a point to say that.
I guess what it interests me is, I don't know that Chris has a target on him necessarily because of them being Nightwing and Flamebird. His rapid aging is what's concerning me. Because do you guys feel that that's stopped?
No.
Or do you feel, because we've seen that continue on. Do you feel that he is going to hit a point where that's going to stop, or do you think that is going to become a major problem for him? That's, I guess, for me, I feel that he has a lot working against him. It's not just the Nightwing and Flamebird curse. I'm actually more concerned about the rapid aging than I am anything else with him.
I'm definitely I'm worried about that. And I don't want to totally, say that, it's not a possibility that, that whole Nightwing and Flamebird thing could come back to bite him in the butt. But the whole rapid aging is what I'm really concerned about. So I don't know. It does happen very randomly from what we've seen. Mm-hmm. From the flashbacks that were in the annual and what we've seen, even after that. It's very random. You don't know when it's coming. It's not like he can have a watch on or something, say, oh, better sit down. I'm going to age 3 years, and you never know when it's going to happen. I mean, it could be a very inopportune time.
I actually should introduce you, too. This is Mandy Stegall because we talked to you last night, and I'm like, well, we introduced you last night. We didn't actually, this is actually, as far as our listeners are concerned, this is taking place before our discussion last night. So you're the writer of Life in the Gutter. You're Super Mandy on the forums, and thanks for joining us again. It's your birthday today, and we were talking yesterday, and we were going to continue doing for tomorrow today, but we did what was considered basically a full show's worth of content yesterday, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to have you join us on this, on your birthday for this casual discussion right now. So especially when you had I hadn't had a chance to read your Life in the Gutter column, which is actually going up with this episode. So I thought it would be fun to just have a little chat about this because I'm highly interested in these characters. It was funny when this was all announced and Nightwing and Flamebird were going to be in Action Comics. It was very mixed how people were reacting to that, because like Superman not going to be in his own book, and what was going to happen there. And Rucka has been delivering two characters that I am incredibly interested in following. Like, I say that I agree with you, Jim, in the extent that I think that Chris has a lot working against him, and I think the rapid aging has me convinced that Chris might not survive this. But I want to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. Oh. It's speculation at this point. But how are you guys feeling about these guys as characters? Do you see them as being viable characters beyond when Superman comes back, like being long-term viable characters?
I think so. I think the way that now I started reading monthlies, I think when Action Annual 11 was coming out, which was like the finale of Last Sun, and I picked it up and thinking, yeah, I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna find all this. So I had to backtrack and see that whole story, and so. But it was after everything had already happened. I've heard all this, and they're like, and I hear all these people talking about Chris Kent. Oh my gosh, and everything that I was hearing was like, oh, why do they have to, bring in this character? And he's just such a la 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 la. And I'm thinking, really, can he be that bad? Because the thought to me, just the thought of, I'm like, Lois and Clark have a kid? What's that? And I mean, I think I've probably said 3 or 4 times, it's like, hey, this is a new dynamic for them. So I was thinking, okay, great. And then he's gone, just as I start, picking it up, and I'm like, and he's gone all of a sudden. And is he gone forever or what? So the fact that he's back now and he's, in a leading role, I don't want him to go anywhere.
Now, they've been alluding at, especially in 879, to some romantic involvement where Thera at least has romantic feelings towards Chris. Do you think that is this Flamebird entity in her, or do you think it's circumstance with these two, with what they've been through, that there is a romantic involvement growing?
Wow. I think that the Flamebird entity definitely has something to do with it. However, I think that it maybe enhances,
what's already there?
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I just realized that, she didn't really know him until after the Flamebird entity was part of her. So it's hard to tell.
There's definitely, like, before the entity kicks in the issue,
right? When
her mind's being read, it's her mind that's being read initially, right? Not the entity.
Yes.
The entity seemed to surprise.
That's the way I took it.
Did you guys take? It
definitely got it.
So yeah. I took it. There's some genuine feelings because Chris, with his rapid aging, it's been established in the storytelling that his aging not only affects him physically, but there's also a mental aging that goes along with it. So he's actually more mature as well. So they become true partners as Nightwing and Flamebird in this.
I was thinking there's probably maybe something from the Flamebird entity, but I think it's, Chris has got his groove on, and she's digging his thing, and I think it's a legitimate. I think there's something a legitimate.
You think
feeling.
He's styling and profiling.
Exactly. Yeah? He's got the strut going, man. He's got the bom 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 bom. Got that style to him.
Does that work for anybody? The bom 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 bom. I mean, what was that? What was that?
That's the music playing in your head as you're walking down
the street. Where do you
go
clubbing?
It's the confidence, man. It's the pizzazz. It's the magic that you bring.
Really?
Hell yeah.
The magic you bring is the bump, 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 bump,
bump. That groove going, you gotta have.
Do your bell bottoms make the noise when they bang together too as you're doing that, or?
Hey there, yeah.
Whoa, hey!
You do the
platform shoes.
Yep. The 2-finger point. Yeah.
I like the platform shoes too. Yeah. Oh boy!
Hey, I'm 5'8". I need all the help I can get.
It is. These are characters I really care about at this point. So It's fun. When you said it was funny, I really enjoyed reading your article about it and your commentary on it because I was thinking to myself, like, I think I am so worried about him that I'm convinced there's a target on him more so than her.
And part of my main thing on Chris isn't, any dislike for the character or usage or anything.
No,
I think
I love
he's a
him.
wonderful character. I really think the bullseye is on him just because I don't think they want to confuse things in the Superman universe family. They have Connor Kent back, who's Superboy. They have Superman out there. Chris Kent, what is this? We know Mon-El is living on borrowed time because of his lead poisoning.
Right.
And we know he's going to eventually go back into the Phantom Zone or some type of version of it. Mm-hmm. But Chris Kent, he's got, maybe. Chris Kent has this big what is going to happen with him. And that's the only reason why I'm thinking he's got a bullseye on his chest.
Mm-hmm. I will say this. It's funny. I've been thinking about this a lot since our discussion last night and Mandy's article now. I think a lot of what the fate of Nightwing and Flamebird in this is going to be driven by what happens with New Krypton. Is New Krypton going to stay out in space? Is New Krypton... I guess I'll tell you what my hypothesis in this whole thing. Depending on how bad things get, I thought that the original premise, I remember at one point in time, with Kandor was that the people chose to stay that way, at least in some of the storytelling that I've read, because they wanted to maintain their lifestyle. They wanted to prevent there being too many people with, those superpowers. They wanted to maintain what Krypton was like. And they chose to stay a bottled city because of that, to keep their society kind of contained that way. I wonder if that might be some of what, they might eventually become a bottled city again, and those two would live there. Another part of me thinks, though, how interesting would the cosmic region of the DC universe be if New Krypton stays as an entity out there as its own, and they could live there as well. I don't know. It's because Chris is kind of an interesting one because being who he is, the child of Zod.
Yeah.
Where would he fit into that society? Certainly, right now he doesn't want to be there. But what if Zod's no longer
in power?
Yeah. What if?
Yeah. He doesn't. I think you guys mentioned last week too. He doesn't even acknowledge his Kryptonian name.
Right.
So.
Because he considers that to be
an abomination.
Yeah, because that acknowledges his parentage, and he really considers himself and models himself. Son. Yeah. So I don't know. I like him a lot. So I don't know. I don't know that the dynamic would be hurt by. I mean, look at the dynamic running around in Gotham right now. Yeah. How many people are running around there? And I think it's all the more interesting for the sheer number of people running around in Gotham.
Yeah.
They've really done a great way of balancing that.
Because it's told from so many different points of view, and you're getting a full picture of everything that's going on, not just what's going on when Batman's there or what's going on when Superman's there. It's okay. What's going on when he's not there?
Mandy, did you read Last Son?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. I guess when Last Son came out, I guess I got myself stuck, and I think it might be one of the reasons why maybe you're where I'm at too, Jim. I got myself so stuck in my head that Chris was potentially going to be the new Superboy, depending on how that story was going.
Yeah.
We had multiple discussions about that, where if he stuck around, he might be, because Connor Kent was gone at that point and didn't look like he was coming back. So I wondered if Chris Kent might be the new Superboy role. But then when Connor came back...
And that might have been where some of the backlash was coming from him, is because Connor is such a loved character that it was like, I know you can't replace him kind of feeling. So, but now that he's back, and we know that that's not going to be the case. I mean, I don't see him dropping... I mean, if... taking into consideration that he does stick around, I don't see him dropping Nightwing and, changing his name to Super whatever, just to say, hey, I'm part of this family.
I think what else has me worried about him is the fact that I think we're all assuming that Dick Grayson has a limited tenure as Batman.
Right.
Now, when I say limited, that doesn't mean that I think this is going to be a pretty lengthy run, just in the sense that...
I say multiple years. I say over a year.
Yeah.
Oh, I think so too. I think it's going to be over years because right now at this stage, we have no clue as to what's going on with Bruce Wayne. It looks like from everything they're alluding to, we're going to get some real answers on what's going on with Bruce Wayne in Blackest Night.
Yeah.
At least, or some clues. So they're going to stretch this out. Not stretch it out. I think this is going to be a story they've got a logical point that they're going to with this. So I don't know. I agree with you in the sense it's going to be over a year. Okay, at least.
Yeah, so, I agree on that point too.
Yeah. So let's give it at least 12 to 14 months, maybe more, based on where it's going to go. And like you said maybe even 2 years.
I could actually see this going as long as 2 years.
Because you're thinking, are you thinking then that when we eventually find out where Bruce Wayne is, then we've got the story of Bruce Wayne making his comeback?
Right. I'm thinking we'll have a period where it's just Dick Grayson. Then we'll have a period where it's Dick Grayson and Bruce. Then we'll have a period where it's Bruce back, but not in the cowl. And it's still Dick in the cowl. Mm-hmm. So it's going to go through 3 stages and 3 sections of the evolution of the return of Bruce Wayne.
See, and it's funny. If it were to go that way, that leaves the Nightwing name open for quite some time. I think the Nightwing name has me more worried for Chris than anything else, because I'm assuming at some point that Dick Grayson is retaking that.
Or could he come up with a new name?
But I guess why?
Because if Chris Kent is still around, he would leave it for and let Chris have it, and say, "No, I'm not going to." Chris Kent is Nightwing.
So do you see? So who do you see Dick Grayson becoming then?
I don't know. Maybe
depending on what happens to Damian.
Yeah,
he's certainly not going to be. Robin
he's not going to be Robin. He's not going to be Robin.
Would that be interesting?
Yeah,
put him in the little pixie boots, going, "Dang it, Bruce! I really didn't want to do this.
Why couldn't I have a new outfit?"
But here's a thing I was wondering, and I don't think this will happen, but the what if we have Team Batman? What if we have both Dick and Bruce in the cowl?
Yeah. See, okay.
That's the one thing.
I'm a huge fan of Dick Grayson as Batman. I don't know that I ever want to see 2 Batmen running around. I honestly, more than that, if like Dick Grayson were to stay as Batman, Bruce as more of a mentoring role, would be fine with me, in the sense. But do we need that with Alfred? I don't.
Yeah, see, Alfred
that seems to be over.
Role.
That seems kind of overkill.
That'd be 2 parents for him.
Yeah,
that'd be 2 dad figures, and he doesn't need the 2.
No.
Now, here's another idea that as soon as I say this, I know there will be people yelling at their iPod saying, "No, that's stupid." What if Dick keeps the cowl and Bruce becomes a new persona?
No. That's stupid. No. Honestly, I would prefer Bruce retired more than. Yeah. I can't. You know what the thing is? I can't imagine. Well, I guess it all depends on where this storytelling with Dick goes. If it gets to the point, like, see, right now we're playing this bit where, and it's I actually really like the fact that Dick is doing this because he's trying to honor his dad's memory, but he never wanted this day to come. He never wanted to be Batman. So I guess my feeling is with the way the story's been developing, Dick would want to give that back to Bruce when he comes back, unless there's a change as time goes on where Dick really accepts the role. I don't know. It's too soon to say on that one. Do I want to see Bruce Wayne in a different role? No.
No, I think
I'm just giving you my honest answer. Yeah. I'm not saying I'll take back that it's a stupid idea. But go ahead, Mandy. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
No. I think that if anybody changes, it's going to be Dick. If Bruce comes back, and I'm going to assume that he'll want to jump right back in and say, okay, so hand me the cape and cowl. That Dick's going to step aside and say, okay, so if anybody, changes in that aspect, it's going to be Dick. He'll hand it over and say, okay, it's all yours, Dad.
The only thing I could see Bruce's different role being, where it would work for me, would be Bruce retired. In the sense where, after everything he's gone through, he retires. I'm not against, and I should clarify that. Am I against Dick Grayson? I like Dick Grayson as Batman a great deal. Like, the storytelling that's coming out of that is phenomenal. I think he's a great Batman right now.
Yes.
So this story, it's fun to follow. I could see myself, really enjoying this. So I'm not against the progression. It's just when there's the resolution with Bruce Wayne, a lot of that depends on. I'm very torn on who I want under the cowl right now. Because I'm a huge Bruce Wayne fan. I don't know that I would want to see two Batman running around. I would want to see a definitive person under that cowl. Just like I don't want to see two Supermen.
Right.
Well,
I don't want to see, go ahead.
That reminds me of Sirens Gotham City Sirens.
Yes.
That second issue where Ivy and Harley are, pumping Catwoman for info about who Batman is, and she's
How cool is that?
It's no one person.
Yeah.
It's not who, but what, so even as and the funniest thing to me is when she told them the truth, or what used to be the truth, they're like, oh, no, he's not.
Well, what worked for that, though, was how Talia trained her.
Right.
Yeah.
I liked that that book is a really good book right now for me because I love the focus on classic storytelling. I was a big fan of the last Catwoman series. And I thought what Will Pfeiffer was doing there was great. And then I loved Heart of Hush with Paul Dini. I think just all of this is played off of all that so well.
Right.
And I think it will continue to because the inevitable confrontation with Catwoman and Black Mask, that's got to come at some point. We're going to find out, I think, more about is this the real Black Mask or not. But that whole sequence with Talia, who better? And who better to – I loved the conversation with two of them about how they both are women that have loved Bruce Wayne and still love Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
In spite of, we've seen Talia do some despicable things, but yet there is still that part of her that loves him. I love that. It's the thing about the Bat universe that works so well that, the deviance of some of these people, yet there's moments where you're like, yeah, I'd kind of like to see him with Talia. I'd kind of like to see him with Selena. He's got
I say both.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Boy, you're really open-minded there. Catwoman to me is his ideal.
Yeah, I know.
I
agree. I do agree with that. And one of the scenes from that issue I really digged was when we start seeing Harley. We start seeing the psychiatrist in her coming out. She's like, I think it would have to be some deep early childhood trauma. Maybe as something and she starts basically laying down why Bruce became Batman. I was like, laughing. It's like she's completely figured it out.
That was cool.
Yeah. It's so hard to remember sometimes that she's smart.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because she is so crazy.
Well, and that's what it is. It's not that she's stupid. It's that she's crazy.
Yeah.
And that's the interesting distinction with her. Ivy is phenomenal in that series. That's a good book.
It is. I'm enjoying it.
And I still hear from Batman the Animated Series just her voice. The actress voiceover that they use for it. Every time I read the comic and I read her lines, I still hear that voice in my head as Harley. And I'm just like, it's Harley.
Yet in tone and presentation, it feels very in tune with what's currently going on with Gotham. Oh,
God, yeah.
Yeah.
I like Hush in that. And that Hush finds out accidentally through Harley Catwoman's location, which for him would be the ultimate chance for
a little
revenge.
Payback time.
So that's really interesting. And the fact that Harley doesn't realize she's dealing with Hush. She thinks she's dealing with the real Bruce Wayne. So that's an interesting little problem and dynamic there. But Catwoman knows. and that I'm glad for the follow-up to that story and how that would be something that would get her worried and get it's a fun book. I loved what they did with Riddler in the first issue. It's that series has been one. The artwork is gorgeous too.
Yeah,
it's just it's well put together. And Paul Dini, I'm glad to see that he's on like a main Bat title with Batman: Streets of Gotham. But I'm also glad to see him have a chance to explore these characters because Catwoman needs a series.
Yeah, she needs to be somewhere.
Because I need a monthly fix of that character. Guys, have you guys seen? Either of you seen the Watchmen director's cut yet?
No, not yet.
I have not watched it yet. I
eyed it in the store today.
You watched it in the store?
No, I I was eyeing it. I was like,
I want to talk about it a little bit now. I'll try not to spoil anything on it, but I bought the Blu-ray collector's edition with the Owl Ship,
okay.
which, it's basically it's an Owl Ship toy, but it's very well designed. The whole thing lights up. It's got sound effects. It lands on a base that looks very similar to the one that the ship landed on in Dan's basement.
Right.
It's very detailed, and the base is cool because the Blu-ray discs. A lot of times I have real issues with collector's editions and the way that they're laid out because it never seems like you pay the premium. But the discs never seem to be like properly protected the way that they are in a regular case. You get like usually a junky presentation of the actual disc. The collector's piece, whatever it is that comes with it's very cool, but that's usually a dud, the storage of the actual movie itself. This comes with little plastic solid cases versus sleeves or something like that. And they're totally protected. They're snapped cases that they're really about the size of the discs themselves and protected, and they're hard plastic. I really appreciated that because I thought it was something different. They slide into the actual base that holds the Owl Ship. This was something that was an Amazon.com exclusive.
Oh, okay.
And they still have it, but it's kind of for anybody that has Blu-ray players, if you like those, it's a wonderful, Jim, you can see it right here. It's a wonderful display piece, and you can see it at Amazon.com. It's a very
it's
cool.
Okay.
But it's the director's cut on one Blu-ray with this maximum movie mode and also an extra separate disc. And finally, there's a DVD with the digital copy. Now, my viewing experience so far, I've watched the director's cut, and then I did a viewing with the maximum movie mode. Now, the director's cut has some wonderful additional scenes, and I won't go too crazy with them because I know you guys haven't seen them yet, but there's a lot more with Hollis Mason than there was in the main movie. Almost like completely what you saw from him in the comic, which is great. There's a wonderful fight sequence with him, and I don't want to say too much about it, but during the fight sequence when he's throwing punches, it's kind of like him reliving his glory days.
Right.
Each punch, when he lands it, flashes to, instead of the person that he's hitting, a classic villain that he fought from the Golden Age.
Oh, nice.
And I'm gonna stop right there with that sequence, but it was something for me that was just breathtakingly done, and I was like, yeah, hoorah.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, but it really, and framing the whole sequence, so there's a couple other sequences with him that I thought were really cool. There's also back again as the news vendor and the kid, and those sequences come into play again. And the maximum movie mode it's an exclusive to the Blu-ray. What it is you rewatch the movie, and throughout it shifts from to different things like picture-in-a-picture analysis with Zack Snyder, where during certain sequences, all of a sudden it'll shift to picture-in-a-picture where you're watching the movie, and you see Zack Snyder, and he's commenting on it. He'll pause the movie and point out certain things to you. Will show you storyboards on the one side and things like that. It'll flash back into the movie, and sometimes a pop-up window will come with commentaries from cast members about their role they were playing and what they were thinking in their head about the character, their own analysis of the character and its motivations. Very cool. Behind-the-scenes video of the production. So there'll be members of the production team, the various different members of the production team, showing while the film is running how certain sequences were created. Sometimes they'll show in slow motion, like the Owl Ship. They showed how they built the Owl Ship from start to finish in like sped up, like fast motion, showing them build the Owl Ship.
Oh, cool.
Because it was actually they built the thing, ship makers, creators of ships, like seaworthy ships, actually crafted this thing. So it actually is a very solid entity. They can pull out the side walls for close-up shots, but you can actually get inside that thing, and it's got the full console, places to sit. There's movable levers and things like that. There's a coffee maker in there and things like that. They tried to make this be a craft that looked visually like something.
Okay, I want it.
Yeah. So, it doesn't actually fly or anything like that, but the levers and things actually do work in there in the sense that, we could pretend to be the Watchmen.
I'm geeking out just listening to you talk about it.
Yeah. There's visual effects commentary. There's a short featurette on the stunts that comes out all the way through. Like Malin Ackerman does this little bit where she tried to do as many stunts as she could in the film, and they showed sequences where they were having her do the stunts and what they did to. Because she said, I wanted it was fun. She learned how to, the jail sequence where they were going down there. She learned how to fight in that sequence. Like she was doing.
Well, that's cool.
That was her, not a stunt double. When they were walking down that aisleway there. It was very cool. It was cool to see how Rorschach and Dr. Manhattan came to life, because they showed how they actually did what they did with the mask, how they did what they did with him. You got to actually see what it looked like for the actors when that sequence was going on, because he's all CGI. But he had a suit on the entire time, especially that was mimicking his face. So it's actually his face that's causing the motions that you see. So they actually acted with him on the scene. So you got to see what those sequences look like in picture-in-a-picture alongside with the main sequence. I really think the whole city that they created, that was actually – they made that city from top to bottom, the main stretch. With the shops and runners and things like that, and Moloch's place and all that. They made them, with the full-blown fronts and then, inside sets. And it was very cool the way that the whole thing was created. You got to see that again in fast speed. You got to see them build it.
Damn.
And it was, to me, and there's some great sequence of Dave Gibbons. Dave Gibbons came onto the set multiple times. They did an interview with Dave Gibbons that appeared during certain sequences where he talked about what it was like to see in the original Minutemen sequences, what it was like to see them come to life, what it was like to see his characters, the Watchmen, come to life, and just how wonderful the experience was for him and how true he felt it was to the book. You also got to see Zack Snyder made comments on why he made the changes that he did to the ending. With Dr. Manhattan versus the Squid Creature. To me, it was an incredibly satisfying purchase. And I haven't even gotten to, there's a whole extra bonus features disc. So all that stuff I'm telling you, that's in the maximum movie mode on the main disc with the film. There's a whole other special features disc I haven't even touched yet.
See, now I want to get this, but I don't even have I don't have the player, but I still want to.
But I'm assuming most of this stuff is available on the DVD as well. It's just the movie mode. I think what the difference is with the maximum movie mode is some of this stuff is interspersed into the film itself with Zack Snyder. The bits with Zack Snyder I know is exclusive the way that it's fed into the film. You're actually watching the movie again in real time with these things popping in while you're watching the film. That's the Blu-ray difference, I think, with that. But I'm assuming a lot of those little short features and films are extra features then on the DVD. So like when I said there's a short feature on the stunts, I bet you that's a single movie on the DVD. So you probably get that in a different form. It was cool, though. I mean, and actually, if anybody out there has the Watchmen Director's Cut DVD, if you can let me know, is that stuff on there as special features? I would love to hear that, because all I can comment on is the Blu-ray myself, but very satisfied with it so far. And there's another version coming. I guess at Christmas time there's a version with Black Freighter mixed in, I guess. So I guess, there was...
Watchmen machine just keeps rolling.
I will say
I thought they were going to put that in with the Director's Cut.
They didn't. The stuff with the kid at the newsstand is in.
Yeah, but not.
But it doesn't flash to the animated Black Freighter sequence.
See, that's what I was hoping would be in there, because I wanted to see how the flow through of live action to the animated.
You'll have to wait till I think Christmas. I think is when that's going to come. I think, they're going to have to include some serious extras for me to buy it again. Not because I don't love it. I've already got the Tales of the Black Freighter disc with the Hollis Mason book on there. So if that's all they're putting into the film, I don't know that I need it again because I got the entire film on this. That'll be curious though. But I will say I'm very happy with this purchase. So I'm not like at all saying, geez, I wish I hadn't done this. I'm thrilled.
How long is that mega movie mix version? Because the original movie was a long movie. Well, you add that extra stuff in there. How much longer are we adding?
It clocks at 3 hours and 8 minutes, but hang on. It's only like a few minutes longer than the film itself, because when you zip out to some of those short films, what'll happen is in a picture-to-picture window, concurrently, like a lot of this stuff happens concurrently with the film.
Right.
Okay.
It'll pause it rarely. Like Zach will pause it rarely and zoom in on something real quick to show you. But like when you see the stunts, like with Rorschach, you get to see the creation of his grapple gun and how they did that. They actually created a tool to make it a working grapple effect. But what happened was when they show those short features, you hit enter on your remote, and it actually zips you out to a short movie that runs a few minutes. So it takes you longer than 3 hours and 8 minutes to watch it all because you're zipping out of the movie to that. But so that's what I mean. So it's not – I don't have a time for you.
Oh, okay.
So it's really more like a mini series.
Yeah, well, no, you're watching the actual movie, but there's multiple times during the movie where you can hit the enter button on your remote, and it zips you out to what would normally be a DVD extra feature,
right?
That you would watch separately. You have the option to zip out and watch that while you're watching the film, or it will run picture-in-a-picture concurrently with the film if you leave it that way. I always zipped out and watched it because it was cool to see. Because when you zip out and watch it, it goes full screen then. So when they're showing how they did the stunts, I didn't want to see that in a small window. I wanted to zip out. But they actually threw up things like storyboards and stuff like that, and you could zip out of the film and actually see production stills of the film as well. And those were all things that weren't part of your time counter because you could literally throw those up on screen and sit there. And when you go back into the film, you were right where you left off.
So it's an all-day kind of...
It was
watching experience.
It was funny. I ended up watching the movie when I originally watched it. I watched it in 3 stages. I watched 1 hour, 1 hour, and 1 hour over 2 days. So I watched it one evening. I started watching it, and then I watched it again the next morning, and then I watched the following evening, the last hour of the film, to kind of get everything kind of done at that point. So I literally. After watching the film, I clicked on the maximum movie mode because it zips you to that, the option to play that right after you've watched it. And I knew it was watching the whole film again. I figured, let me see what this is like. I ended up watching the whole so I watched the last hour of the film and then watched the whole thing again in maximum movie mode. So I wasn't paying attention to the clock, but I was up well into the middle of the night.
Wow.
Because it was so cool. I was glued to that. So, that is probably a testament to itself at how cool it was. I had watched the last hour of the film before watching that mode, sat through the whole thing. I literally, every time you could hit enter and zap something up full screen, I did that. So it was stopping the movie so I could watch those little anywhere from, they were 3 to 4 minute featurettes. So I was watching a bunch of those along the way and stopping for every production still and looking at all those. So... I have no idea how long it took me, but it was pretty darn cool. That probably added another hour. So I did like 5 hours of Watchmen watching.
Wow. You watched
the Watchmen?
I did watch the Watchmen. But I wanted to talk about it because we did like a big segment on the Watchmen, and I wanted to talk about at least what it was like for my experience watching the Blu-ray. And it was kind of cool. So I also want to do a quick little update on the motion comics. Have either of you purchased any of the motion comics?
Not really, no.
No, I haven't.
They're on iTunes. I don't know if they're available from any other sources. I know the Watchmen ones were actually released on its own disc, and you could get them from the video game consoles as well. You could download them. But I get them on iTunes, and I'm a big fan of these. Batgirl Year 1 is now available on there for $7.95. It's the complete Batgirl Year 1. You can see as a motion comic. So it's the actual comic book miniseries Batgirl Year 1, but done as a motion comic now. So for anybody that didn't read that's interested in them, you can watch them on and it's a full motion, not full motion, it's using the comic art in a motion, like the Watchmen motion comic. Batman Black and White is in season 2 for $4.95. Superman Red Sun is now in a motion comic, and there's the initial offering that's up there right now. It's free. It's $9.99 for the season pass, but you can try out. The rest of it's not available yet. What happens is you can download the first part, check it out. So anybody has iTunes, this is free. So it's Superman Red Sun. You can see if you like it, free. And then if you do, you just subscribe to the season pass. How iTunes does it is they release a chapter periodically. So it's Warner Motion Comics. They'll release a chapter, kind of like podcasts. So all of a sudden you'll pop in your iTunes one day and you'll get an email notification that a new episode's available as well. And you pop open your iTunes, and it automatically downloads for you to your iTunes the second that you open up your iTunes. And you've got another chapter of this. You can watch it on your computer screen. So you don't have to, for those of you that don't have iPods, These watch on your computer. So like the Red Sun chapter is free. You can download iTunes, load it on your machine, plop it open, and see if this is yours. Some people don't like the motion comics. I'm a fan of them. I'm a fan of comics just being available in a whole bunch of different medium because I think anything that generates buzz to comics is good.
Right.
So, I'm not looking for replacements to the paper comics. I love paper comics, but to me, exploring any kind of digital avenue and throw them anywhere. I'm a fan of seeing them pop up on game consoles. Anywhere you can get them, it's only going to get – if it brings 2 people to them, it's still 2 more readers. Yeah. That's cool. But I got to imagine with the iPod generation right now, there's a lot of people who these motion comics are hitting that probably have never read a comic book. And that, to me, I think is a good thing because it's exposing this medium to that audience. These join Watchmen was previously released from DC, Batman Black and White Season 1, and Batman Adventures Mad Love. Harley Quinn fans right now, Ooh. If you want to check this one out, it's Batman Adventures Mad Love. Great Harley Quinn stuff. It's the Mad Love comic brought to life as a motion comic with multiple chapters, and that's completely available as well. Those were previously released before these new ones that I just found recently. So I just thought it was kind of I'm like, let me revisit these.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
I have them all. I like these. It's I've read all of these, but it's cool to just be able to revisit them in a different medium with music and.
Dude, I hate you.
Well, Red Sun's free, so you can literally...
I know, that's a no-cost thing. That's the hook. I'll just take a little taste, First one's free. Come on, man.
But if you like it, it's worth it. That's the great thing. See, to me, what's good about the free part is it's a no-cost exploration. So, like, for anybody listening, if motion comics aren't your cup of tea, you can try them out for free with this Red Sun thing. If you don't like it, you're not out any money. If you like it...
Yeah.
$9.99 is not bad for. I don't think it's bad for the complete motion comic of it.
No.
And Batman Black and White, like at $4.95, little Batman shorts, kind of cool. Not to be confused with little Robin shorts.
Right. Yeah, I'm like, Batman shorts. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Have you guys? How much of the San Diego news have you guys been following?
Oh, everything.
Have you? Yeah, I've been eating it all up.
Yeah, I've been eating up a lot of the Blackest Night stuff. I haven't really gotten to a lot of the DC panels or any of that, but the other DC panels, that Blackest Night was my big thing. That's what I wanted to read about and hear about.
Okay.
I think especially, and I had a little bit of this in my blog this week too. I was a complete nerd Sunday morning, and it was too. My mom thought it was hilarious. I sat and had Newsarama on my computer, and they had that live streaming that was going on with all the panels. Yeah. So I sat and watched as the Smallville panel went through, and just, probably every 2 minutes or so, something would be said, and I'd be like, yeah. And just getting all excited about it. And
wasn't that cool to be there live? Like, it was like you were there live?
It was. I really felt like I was there. And then, once, let's see, what was Jeff Johns writing another episode?
Yeah, well, it's going to be a JSA episode.
JSA episode, yes. And he did an interview, I can't remember who it was with. Might have been Comic Book Resources. I'm not sure on that, though, where he couldn't say what characters were going to be there, but he said that there might be a couple that we would be surprised about.
Nice.
So, I was I'm like, well, who do you think of when you think of JSA? You think of Jay Garrick, Alan Scott are the two that pop into my head automatically.
I went to 3 sites. I went to Newsarama.com. I went to comicrelated.com, and I went to comicbookresources.com. And I was kind of jumping between all the sites to try and see that. I also want to, for all of our listeners out there, if you haven't checked, DC Comics from San Diego always publishes their panels as podcasts.
Yep.
So I downloaded all those. Too. Which I really enjoy because a lot of times I like to hear the direct panel because sometimes the tone is lost. Like, there'll be jokes that the way, and I don't mean any insults to anybody who does reporting on it,
right.
But you'll read back a comment that a creator makes or an editor makes or something like that, and it comes off being a completely, it's something that was completely meant as jovial and funny and slapstick, and it comes off as looking a little offensive sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's great to actually hear and I encourage people to do that, actually hear the real panels. That's kind of fun, especially like DC Nation is always meant to be a lighter, more fun panel. DC Nation, especially if you want to get the humor of the DC Nation. For anybody that hasn't been at a event where DC has DC Nation and their regular DC Universe panel, the DC Nation panel tends to be a little bit more informal, a little bit more relaxed. They tend to joke around more. There's more interaction with the audience. It's not really one where you get a ton of news. It's more of a chance for them to get some feedback from the audience, what people are liking, what they're disliking, why. It's really kind of a more of a fan connection panel. And that one really especially is one that download, listen to it, and hear it. Because I do think comments from those panels in particular sometimes get – and I'm not saying this at any insult to Newsarama.com, comicrelated.com, or comicbookresources.com. What I'm saying is supplement that reading with these. So I'm not saying in place of. It's great to hear those panels, then hear the commentary of the reporters. I mean, read the commentary of the reporters, hear stuff we're talking about here. It's part of the whole experience. So dive into it.
Definitely. I'm excited about that. I'm going to Chicago Comic-Con.
Are you really?
I am.
You got to come back on and report to us then, because we're not.
I will.
We were going to, and that didn't work out. So
okay. Yes, I purchased my ticket for the whole weekend, and one of my friends lives up there, or her parents live up there. We're gonna go stay with her parents. She's got a brother who's into comic books, so we're going. And
there's a surprise party for my aunt that weekend.
Oh,
and
yeah, that makes it hard.
Yeah, that was the ultimate kicker for me, because you and I were actually talking about it. Even our last conversation where because you're actually going to be out of town this coming week.
Yeah, the week leading up to Chicago, I'll be in New Jersey.
And you weren't sure what day you were going to. Yeah. You're still. I don't think because you're driving. You're still not sure when you're going to be done there, right?
Yeah, we're not 100% certain when we'll be coming home. Or then we're thinking, because we're also going to do New Jersey and Philadelphia. So that would be cutting part of the Philadelphia, and I was going to fly from Philly to Chicago, and it was just...
We did our last episode when we were recording, you and I were we were trying to come up with some scheme where we could make this work, because we're big fans of the Chicago Comic-Con. It's a fun con. Yeah.
This is my first con experience.
Oh, you know what? my first big con was the Chicago Comic-Con. Yeah. It's one of my absolute favorites.
My first con ever was Chicago Comic Con. That was huge, and I was just I remember walking in going, "Whoa, wow!" Being a little bit.
Stop by Artist Alley and see Freddie Williams, because we're sending anybody, and that's for any of our listeners. Stop by and let them know that you're friends of the show, and just stopping by to say hello. Because he's going to be down there in Artist Alley. It's that con is.
Brian Azzarello's signing too.
I know, yeah. And he's got that cool book coming out that I'm still trying to get all the full details on that one. It looks like it's going to be Doc Savage and a whole bunch of those characters. Yeah. I'd love to see him do a take on them. I think is the Spirit going to be in that book, or how is that working?
I'm not sure.
Because that looks like now it's more like an anthology title by Azzarello, unless I'm reading it wrong. I want more details about that book because it looks cool. I'd read him doing Doc Savage alone, but I think there's going to be multiple characters in that book. So we were talking about Smallville.
Oh, yeah.
One of the things at the panel, obviously, Kneel Before Zod.
Oh, God.
Callum Blue is going to be playing Zod this season, and I'm curious to see a real Superman Zod knockdown dragout.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see a fight between Clark and Zod. Especially after Doomsday, because I wanted to see more from Doomsday.
Yeah.
Not that I loved it, but that battle at the end, I wish had been 2 episodes. This, I want to see a major battle between Zod and Clark.
Yeah. One of the things that I picked up on, and it might have been either through the panel this weekend or all the interviews that they did outside, leading up to that or right after. there's been a lot of questions as to what Zod is this? This is, I guess they're actually introducing him as Major Zod. So he's not actually General Zod yet. And when he gets, when Tess summons him, I guess, is what happened, he doesn't even have any idea about Clark.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So I wonder if this isn't...
Because this is before...
Pulled from the past,
Pulled from the past.
Yeah, this is a Zod that's been pulled from the past. So he's not General Zod yet. Krypton hasn't exploded yet. And...
Wow.
Yeah, and he's not... I mean, he's obviously, still going down that path, but...
So we might get some Zod history this season.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I like that, actually. We get
cool.
some Zod that we never got to explore before.
Actually, whose interview was it? It was, Brian Peterson. It was an interview that I just read this morning, I think. They were talking about, since this is a past Zod, they asked him if, so what happens if, him and Clark meet up and they hit it off and they become friends? Does that mean that Zod goes back and he never, has all these, unfriendly feelings towards Jor-El, and he doesn't cause the planet to explode, and Krypton never explodes, and Clark never comes to Earth? And they're like, ooh, you might have something there. And I was like, oh, geez, that's an interesting theory.
So Clark has... that would be an interesting judgment call.
Right.
So does it put Clark into a moral dilemma?
Yeah, because knowing what he already knows from when Zod was here before.
That's cool.
I like that.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I want to see this.
We're having Metallo this season. Brian Austin Green is going to be John Corbin Metallo this season.
Wow.
Yes. They had some footage of him at the panel. You can go on YouTube and you can find the whole panel, which I highly recommend. This is the first time that Tom Welling was ever made an appearance at Comic-Con.
He's a producer this season, too.
Yes, he is. He's a producer, too.
Besides doing directing.
Right. He's directing 2 episodes this season.
Mm-hmm.
Allison Mack's going to do another one.
Cool.
But for someone who's as press shy as Tom Welling, he was very engaging to everybody. And there was one point when someone asked him a question, and at the end of the question was, "And can you answer very slowly so you can keep looking at me?" And
that's funny.
The whole room erupted. And of course, I'm watching all this on YouTube. And the whole room erupted. And he played along with it for a few minutes. He's like, well, the thing is, you see. And the whole time but it was so much fun to watch. So that's definitely one that, you can't get from iTunes or anything. But that's definitely one that you might have watched or might have read about on Newsarama or wherever, but definitely the preview that they showed for season 9 has some footage of Brian Austin Green as John Corbin and his being turned into Metallo. So I'm really excited about him being on there as well.
They're alluding to Clark having a costume this season.
He does.
Ooh.
He does.
It's not the traditional one.
Right, but
no, it's not the traditional one. They actually show that at the end of the preview.
Mm-hmm.
It's how can I describe this? It's
the description I've got here is it almost looked black with a black coat and a dark blue Superman shield.
Kind of Matrix-like, I guess. But yeah, it's black. And, I mean, it's like a black trench coat, but the Superman shield is very prominently on his chest, but it's actually silver, and they asked him, the producers, about it, and they said, well, he's not going to go to a tailor the first time, and, figure
So
it
this
all
is the
out.
this is the first stage of him getting
Right.
a costume. So we're actually seeing,
Progression.
yeah, instead of just bam, I'm in the costume.
Right.
And that's gonna be weird because we're not gonna have the red and blue blur anymore with him going black like this. I'm wondering how people will deal with
Are
that.
they going to drop the red and blue part and just have him be the blur? You know, in that panel, too, they referred to him multiple times as Superman.
Well, and here's actually Erica, when Jeff Loeb's asked what's going on with you and Clark, because Jeff Loeb was moderating it.
Right.
He asked Erica Durance, what's going on with you and Clark this year? She came back with, I think you guys are going to be pretty excited this year. All of the things you've been waiting for. You'll see a little of that. She replies, Lois is dealing with being smitten with Superman.
Yes.
It's really going to be great this season. It's going to be really spicy. So this is like the birth of her being in love with Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And will she be the one to name him? Will we see her name him Superman? She's in 18 episodes this season.
Yes.
Nice.
Exciting.
Yeah. I'm this season. I'm really super excited for. I'm glad there's progression going with this. I am ultimately hoping this does lead to film. They've got to make a movie.
Well, they actually so they're aiming for 10 seasons.
Right, which would mean one more after this.
They said that in the panel. They're aiming for 10. They really think they can do it. I think they can do it. Somebody asked in the panel about a movie, and Jeff Loeb said, "Oh, well, what do you guys think about a movie?" And the crowd again was very enthusiastic about the possibility of that. So, and I guess they reported there were like 6,000 people in that room.
Which was way over. I think it was like 1,100.
Yeah, they said it was like a 1,500 room occupancy or something. So,
wow.
Yeah, when they announced that Jeff Johns was going to write another episode, I think it was Kelly Souders, one of the showrunners. She kind of looked over at Jeff Loeb and said, we'd welcome someone else back if he wanted to write another episode. And so I'm going to kind of keep my eye on that one too, because
that'd be cool.
Yeah, what was it? See, like 3 and 4 that he was
heavily involved.
Yeah, and I'd have to go back and look and see what episodes he wrote, but those were some good years that he was with the show.
They really were.
Yeah,
it's I hope they go the full 10. Well, I can't imagine ratings wise. Last season were good, really good.
Right.
Especially considering everything going on, it was a really good season for them. I'm worried because isn't it going to Fridays now?
Right.
Oh no.
Brian, yeah,
that's like the kiss of death.
No, Brian Peterson made a good point though. He says if you think about some of the better sci-fi shows that are on TV, they're on Friday nights.
Mm-hmm.
So he says,
Star Galactica was.
Yeah, he said it's been done and it's worked before. Uh-huh. So we're not worried. We see it as a challenge. And I'm like, okay.
I just hope the advertising supports the move.
Right.
Like I have no problem at all. Like for me, what do I care? And especially the day and age with DVRs and stuff, who cares when it's on?
Right.
It's just that it's on. But I personally am hoping that the advertising makes sure that the audience that enjoyed it last season, it actually is kind of nice because it takes it away from some of the competition on Thursday nights.
And here's the thing with me. It's funny. As I say, it's the kiss of death. I do think for me personally, this is a better deal because I normally can't watch it live on Thursdays because I got to work the next day. Mm-hmm. And I'm literally, that's my bedtime. So Friday, I am able to watch it because I don't have to go in on Saturday.
We could do Smallville nights and then podcast about it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Like when when the JSA episode airs, for example.
Yeah.
We could watch that live and podcast about it right afterwards. That would be fun.
Well,
hey, we could podcast during it.
We could.
It's funny that you say that. One of my friends who I'm responsible for getting her interested in Smallville. She borrowed all my seasons got her caught up. We used to work at the same school. We don't anymore. We would actually get online and Thursday nights at 7:00. And we would actually sit and watch the show and be online talking about it as it's happening. Oh my God, did you see that? And just making general comments about it. So that's been there, done that.
Yeah, my brother and I used to do that with Buffy, because we were both big fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and we'd both be watching and talking on the phone, and then we'd hang up a little bit and call back on a commercial. Oh my God, yeah, and we'd go back and forth with that. So yeah.
Green Lantern, let you and I destroy that space junk.
Now, at this point in the discussion, Comic Timing's Ian Levenstein has joined us to continue our discussion with the San Diego Comic-Con. Ian was there, so we've got that perspective added to this discussion at this point. But I wanted to have you on because you were there. Can you give us a general... I've been to things like the New York Comic-Con, the Chicago Comic-Con. I've never been to San Diego. Can you give us an idea... using New York, I think that'd probably be a great measuring stick. Size and scale-wise, because I watched the G4 stuff, and I wish there was more comic book content on those. I enjoyed what they did, because it was great to get kind of a sense of the scale there. 125,000, was that correct?
That is correct, yeah. It was a complete sellout. From Wednesday night until Sunday when it closed, it was completely sold out.
Now, how is it like to navigate the floor with 125,000 people there?
Well, on the bright side, not all 125,000 are going to be in the same place at the same time, which is good because the convention center itself is actually the size of about 3 football fields.
Okay.
It runs from the best way to describe it is it runs from about 1st Avenue to 6th Avenue in San Diego. Which is why it's good to get a hotel either on 1st Avenue or 5th Avenue because that's where the crosswalks are. The dealer's room runs literally from 1st Avenue to 6th Avenue on the first floor. That's the dealer's room. That's the exhibition hall where they have all of the big wigs, followed by like one half of the room is comic buying, the other half of the room is like DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, all the movie guys, and then the other side of the room is basically all video games. And that's just the first floor.
Wow.
And that's the exhibition hall. Most of the panels take place on the 3rd floor, and the 2nd floor is like a mezzanine level, which is basically like a lot of the I guess gaming type things happen on the mezzanine, which means that I wasn't really there that much. But you really, it's spacious enough where you can get by. It's really going to be crowded, and you could feel that even on Wednesday, which is preview night, where only people with 4-day passes were allowed in, and it was still really, really packed tight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is why also they basically have told San Diego that they're going to have to build up a little bit more in order for the Comic-Con to stay there because they're running out of room.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, but
That's
that's a machine.
if you're bringing 125,000 people, because it's what, 5 days? Is that right?
It runs from Wednesday night preview night until Sunday. So
okay.
yeah,
So about 4.5. But I mean,
it might very well be a full 5 next year.
Okay, let's say 4.5 days, but 5 days of probably generating business for San Diego at least.
Right.
Counting that some people probably stayed. Did you stay till Monday or did you leave on Sunday?
I stayed on Sunday. I stayed until Sunday. However, I came on Tuesday.
Okay, so you were actually there extra time, which I'm assuming a lot of people either go on one end or the other and spend some extra time there. So you're generating a lot of business for San Diego.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the reason I came in on Tuesday, was twofold. One, so that we'd be able to get used to the time difference, because 3 hours and everything, and getting used to that. And two, not only did we go to a Padres game on Tuesday, but we went to the zoo Wednesday during the day before the actual preview night. Awesome. And oh my God, that zoo, man, is like one of the most gorgeous places I've ever been in my life. It is so worth it.
I've been down to L.A. like 10 times. I've never been to the San Diego Zoo. I'll have to go next time we go. One of my best friends lives in L.A., so I wind up in that area a lot. Which is the sad part. I'm usually there with my wife and my friend who aren't big comic fans. So to try and even approach going to the San Diego Con is a little bit difficult for me. I'm going to have to plan a separate trip where I just go and do San Diego because I want to hit that con.
Yeah, I want to go
once.
there.
How does it compare,
though,
Ian, as far as navigating it to like getting through New York, for example?
Well, getting through New York is a little different because with New York, you've basically just got the one exhibition hall, and then you've got The panel's directly underneath, and the panel room specifically, there is no comparison between San Diego and New York. The panel rooms are about double the size of those at New York. Some of which even triple, depending on where you are. There are a lot of people, and I think the perfect example is actually when I was leaving the Eisners, because we were lucky enough to be able to catch those on Friday. There were people camped out on the lawn outside of San Diego Comic-Con for Hall H, which is where all the big events happen, like Disney and the Lost panel and stuff like that. They were camped out on the lawn for the next day's Lost panel. They were sleeping there overnight in order to ensure that they would get into that panel. And the room itself...
I would love to do that.
You would, wouldn't you?
Well, no, I mean, I love Lost, but I mean, how cool would that be to be, I mean, like, forgetting any kind of panel that you really want to be at, how cool would that be just to be camping out at night with a bunch of people? I camped out for a PS2. I did. We played football in a parking lot. We stayed up all night long.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so I mean,
good for you.
Yeah, I know I am. I'm a big boy now, but it's
who's special, Sean? Who's special?
Yeah, I asked my dad. He said I'm old enough, and I just had to call in and check in. But it was
stop in and let him know you got home. Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, to be with a whole bunch of people that like something that you do for an event like that, the stories that's got to come out of that. Because in order to keep yourself entertained, because how much sleeping are you really going to be able to do?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, there were people there with actual like sleeping bags, like getting ready to go in. In fact, I guarantee you there were some people that didn't even have hotel rooms that probably just came in that either had one-day passes or something like that and were on the line the night before just to get in for that Saturday for the Lost panel. But this room holds 4,000 people, okay? And we waited on the line an hour ahead of time for the Disney panel and did not get in because they do not clear the rooms at San Diego, which is also a little bit of a difference because depending on the panel, they will clear the room at New York. And unless it's for the Masquerade, there is no clearing the room in San Diego. If you're in, you can stay in as long as you want until you leave.
Wow. So actually,
wow.
Your hope is to get into the panel room that has a majority of the panels you actually want to see,
right?
Just to stay.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I did actually. I actually went there a little bit early. I saw the tail end of the Eastwick pilot, which is going to be premiering on ABC this fall. Cool. And basically I stuck around because it was the Marvel animation followed by the DC animation panel directly afterwards. So it made sense to just stick around.
So you got to see that footage of did you get to see, was Green Lantern shown there?
Actually, no. That was a separate panel. My girlfriend saw the actual huge Ballroom 20 presentation where they actually all said in unison. The entire crowd said.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah. Was that the Blackest Night one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Where they all said the oath in unison.
Yeah, this was actually the premiere showing of the Green Lantern animated movie. She was there for that. I was actually that was after the podcasting panel, so I was out to dinner with Bob Raytall, John Mayo, and a lot of the other guys from the forums. Oh, so fun. I actually saw a repeat showing on Sunday of the movie, and that's where I got to see it in full. And you're gonna have a lot to appreciate there, Sean and Jim. I'll tell you that much. It just came out, and it's going to be worth it. There's a couple of things. I
just watched it today.
Oh yeah, I watched it Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, just checking.
We're gonna do a show on it. Have you seen it yet, Jim?
Okay. No.
Dude, how could you resist?
Dude.
Well, you have it?
No.
You don't have the Green Lantern animated movie?
No.
Dude.
I'm gonna sell it for you right now, Jim, okay?
No, hold on, you don't have to sell it. I just
Well, let me describe exactly the way the plot goes right here, okay? It is an animated Training Day, okay? You know the movie Training Day? Yeah. Basically, it's Sinestro teaching the ropes to Hal Jordan.
Cool. Yeah, dude, I'm gung-ho looking forward to it. And
you're not that gung-ho.
Well, hold on. Just give me a second to speak. I forgot to pre-order it.
Shame on you.
And then when it came out, I know. You know, when it came out, I didn't realize it had come out yet. I was still thinking it's next month going to come out. I'm like, well, when it comes out, I'll get it. The next thing I know, it's out. I'm like, it's out? What? And then I never had a free moment to go to the store this entire time. I've been sitting there going, I can't get to the store. I don't have a free time.
Why didn't you say something? You could have come over yesterday and watched it.
when did I have time to come over yesterday and watch
That whole time we were waiting for, like, my internet to get fixed. You could have been over here watching Green Lantern with me. It's for an hour.
Yeah, I could have done that. Huh.
Fail.
I got it on Blu-ray.
Yep.
We could have watched
That's
it.
epic fail.
Nice. It's awesome.
Now, speaking of animation, though, at the DC Animation Panel, we actually got to see the trailer for the Batman Superman.
That's on the disc for Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Public Enemies. They're
There's
doing
like a
the
first
Superman
look, right?
Batman Public Enemy. Yeah, it's very
sweet.
cool.
Yeah.
Kevin Conroy was there as well.
Yeah, 'cause it's gonna be and Tim Daly is gonna be Superman again.
Yeah.
And everybody's favorite Lex Luthor returns.
Absolutely.
Nancy Brown.
The Kurgan.
They kept mentioning that at the panel, and basically he told the story about how when Clancy Brown auditioned, he originally auditioned for Superman, not for Lex Luthor, because he's always wanted to play the good guy. And when he sat down and did the voice, they basically went to him, well, it's okay, but, you really should be auditioning for Lex Luthor.
He wasn't even a good guy on Lost. I liked him on Lost, but...
He was a good guy in that Earth 2.
Oh, that's
Yes.
a good point.
Earth
2 was great. Yeah, I liked him on that.
Yeah, but my favorite moment of the panel, Kevin Conroy wound up basically... Andrea, I always forget the last name, the voice
Romano?
director. Well, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Andrea Romano was there, and he breaks out in his Batman voice, "Oh, Andrea. And you should have heard the crowd after that.
You sound less creepy when you're doing your Kevin Conroy.
Why, thank you.
It's Ian doing Kevin Conroy doing Batman.
The only way it would have been better is if he would have broke out, "My parents are dead."
Now, do you get, like, when you go to the con, are there things that you want to do that you're just, do you feel like your time is well spent? Do you feel like you get a lot in?
There's always something that you miss. There's always something that you wish you were able to get into. Like, due to lines and due to a lot of situations, oftentimes there'll be things that are scheduled, like, against each other, that you really, you can't do. You got to choose one or the other. So at a huge con like this, you really do need to budget your time properly and think, like, which one do you really want to go to more than anything else? Like for instance, when Chris wound up at the Green Lantern showing, because I was a little bit late, I was able to get in to see the Dr. Horrible sing-along.
Oh, fun.
Which was fun. Yeah, I mean, even though I missed Green Lantern, at least I was able to be there for that, and I still felt satisfied, At some cons, it's either the showing or nothing.
Right.
But at San Diego Comic-Con, there's always going to be something to do. So even if you don't get into something, you're guaranteed that you're going to be able to find something fun.
So you felt that every day you had a packed day with as much entertainment as you wanted for that day.
Oh, definitely. And what was also great is that if you picked the right time of day where there was, like, really big panels going on, you would be able to walk the exhibit hall a lot easier. And surprisingly enough, one of those days was Saturday of all days.
Wow.
Like, you would expect everybody to be on the exhibit hall floor on Saturday, but there were times during the day that we were able to just walk it with, like, no troubles whatsoever.
Yeah, because most cons I've been at, that's usually the day that I avoid. I usually try to get everything in on Friday,
right?
Exhibit hall wise, and then and whatever I don't get to do on Saturday is usually Sunday's job.
Well, that's the great thing about San Diego too. Like you mentioned, like you try to get everything done on Friday. Thursday is the first day of the con.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
So basically, you have those extra days where even if you miss something, you can go ahead and get it. Like the first thing that I did on Wednesday, I found this fantastic 50% off trade bin. That wow. not only did it have Marvel and DC, but it also had a bunch of like Image and independent books in there too. And I found Jim and Sean. Have you guys heard of Scud the Disposable Assassin?
Yes. Did you?
No.
It's a lot of fun. It's basically about the name describes it all. Basically, it's this robot that's supposed to be an assassin that you can basically hire for like one hit, and then he's supposed to dispose of himself. But Scud is a little bit different. He actually sticks around and becomes an assassin for hire. And the complete Scud the Disposable Assassin, 50% off.
Wow.
Which normally goes for about $30. I got it for $15.
Nice. Very nice.
Cool.
Yeah, and I got Booster Gold Volume 1 for 50% off, DMZ Volume 5 for 50% off, and Doctor Who, The Forgotten for 50% off as well.
That's a good mini.
Oh, it is, yeah.
And that's actually the writer of the ongoing right now is the same one who wrote that mini.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, and a little bit of art by Pia Guerra. She didn't do the full thing due to family obligations that she had to take care of. But I believe the first 3 issues are done by Pia, and then another artist steps in for the rest. And there was one other, Paul Cornell's Fantastic Four True Story was also 50% off there. So that was basically my shopping for the con, other than a couple of things here and there. Like I did all of my comic book shopping on day one.
I love seeing Paul Cornell do comics now because he did a lot of the Doctor Who New Adventure novels from Virgin, and then to see him now make this transition over to the comic world as well, it works really well.
Well, since it's a DC podcast, I'll make the comment. I'd love to see him on some of the space heroes in DC.
Oh, so would I. Yeah, amen.
Yeah, but yeah, basically, once that was all said and done, also Sunday was great because you got to actually hang out with some of the creators. By the way, Mr. Williams sends his regards.
Very cool. Yeah, we did a whole segment about him.
Oh, great.
Yeah, we reconstructed our lost segment.
I'm sure you discussed his new deal.
Oh,
with
JSA All Stars. Yeah.
Yes. I cannot wait for that. I mean, Matthew Sturgis and Freddie Williams. I mean, you can't get a better creative team than that.
Actually, why don't we talk about that a little bit, because there's going to be 2 JSA teams now. 2 squads, and that's actually the way that they're terming it, is that there's going to be 2 JSA squads. One is going to be in, I guess it looks like Bill Willingham's going to be writing one book, and Sturgis is going to be writing the other book. They're going to split off, and it's a great way, because of the size of that team, it makes sense to put them into 2 squads, because the heavy focus, they said, in All Stars is going to be about training heroes, not just how to be moral and good heroes, but the main JSA team has always been making better heroes. And it looks like the leaders of the new team from the article I read is going to be Power Girl and Magog.
Okay.
Our Man, Stargirl, the younger Wildcat, Damage, Citizen Steel, Judo Master, Cyclone, and this new character, King Chimera, from their book, Sturgis was saying is going to be on that particular squad. His wife's going to be on the other team for a reason that's going to be explained.
Okay.
Because his wife is Liberty Bell.
Liberty Bell.
Yeah.
Our Man's wife, I should say, yeah.
Yeah, well, I saw a little bit of the first issue of JSA. It comes in my shipment tomorrow, so I didn't really get to see all of it. But if what happened, I'm not going to spoil anything for those who haven't read it yet. It's going to be an interesting start to Willingham and Sturgis's run here, because major shakeups are going to be going down. Major. Yeah,
that's a team, especially with the way John set it up, with as many characters are in that book. I think, Mandy, are you reading JSA right now?
I haven't been, but I'm going to have to.
The current issue that just came out is going to be a good jumping on point, because it's the new creative team kicking off. So if you're interested in trying JSA, I would imagine that the issue that just came out this week is your doorway in. Yeah.
I had kind of been iffy on it. I think I picked up an issue here and there, and I was like, well, if I've got room for it, I'll keep it in mind. But I think just hearing everything that was discussed from San Diego, I'm like, wow, this really sounds interesting. And as JLA's kind of been iffy lately, so to me, I looking for a good team book, I guess. But
we're gonna have to talk a little what JLA's got coming down the pike too, though.
Yeah,
that'll be our next discussion after we're done with JSA here.
Well, actually, guys, I was at the DC Universe panel at San Diego Comic-Con, and basically all the reveals that they went through there, I'd be happy to discuss, because there was a lot to talk about at the panel.
Well, why don't you? Do you guys have anything else you want to say about JSA All Stars before we jump on to that? Because that actually would probably be the logical point to go to next. Well, go ahead, Ian.
Really, all I'll say about JSA All Stars is that this is the sort of book that I was expecting to happen, even during Jeff Johns' run, because there were so many characters in that book, and it was hard to give everybody the proper amount of screen time that they so very much deserved. And I think you're probably going to wind up getting that out of 2 separate JSA books. That way, everybody really has a chance to shine, and that's why I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I think what Johns was trying to do with his run was to establish the society concept. Mm-hmm. And I think what happens now is, now that concept's been established, there's room to kind of branch off into more of the veteran JSA heroes and more of the newer squad, which it sounds like All-Stars is going to focus on the training of them. And you can really delve into 2 different kinds of storytellings, which, Jim and I were talking about it when we were talking about Final Crisis Aftermath run kind of casually. They've done this with Fables and Jack of Fables, how they broke off, and took one of the major fables from the main Fables book, Jack, and put him in his own book and gave us something very, very different in the same universe. And I could see them really having fun doing the same thing here with JSA All-Stars.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
Ian, well, let's talk about that DC Universe panel, seeing as it's better to talk with somebody who was there, because you actually got to kind of – what was it like to be there, and what came out of that one?
Well, what was great about this is that it was basically the DC Universe panel, and then directly, I think it was actually beforehand, it was Marvel, and then directly after DC. So I got to see both sides of the spectrum in the exact same room. Yet again, going with the whole, you don't have to leave the room. I basically just sat down, relaxed, and got to see, both sides of the table. With DC, what was interesting about that is that they saved, like usual, they saved all of their announcements for the DC Universe panel. Because at DC Nation, it was more of a question and answer type thing without any actual reveals. But here with the DC Universe panel, you had Green Arrow Black Canary writer Andrew Kreisberg was there. You had Eric Troutman from JSA versus Cobra. Gail Simone and Nicholas Scott were both there. And
nice.
James Robinson was there as well. So, plus Jeff Johns, because he's not even listed on here, because Jeff Johns got there a little bit late. Mm-hmm. Add on to that, Bob Wayne, Dan DiDio, and the big surprise, brand new Lobo writer and Anthrax lead singer Scott Ian.
Cool.
Dang, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He's gonna be writing Lobo with I believe art by Sam Keith.
Yeah. Which I knew Sam Keith was attached to a new Lobo project, but I didn't hear about the writer yet. That's interesting.
Yeah. This is a guy who, from what I know, doesn't really have much comic experience, but there seems to be a good track record with singers becoming writers lately with Gerard Way and stuff like that. So hopefully this will be the type of Lobo story we've been waiting for.
Yeah, yeah. So what were some of the highlights?
Well, definitely one of the highlights for me is characters that I'm not very familiar with, but ones that I know a lot of people have been waiting to see, and that's the return of the Thunder Agents. And basically, they're going to be integrated fully into the DC universe. The Thunder Agents, I know, was a property that was separate from DC, and now they've acquired the license, and they're going to be bringing all of those characters in, similar to the way that they brought the Milestone characters in. And I believe they're going to begin on their own side of the DCU, and eventually, they'll have characters cross over into it, and slowly but surely fully integrate the Thunder Agents into the DC universe. So we've got a brand new team showing up in the DCU.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. Are you guys familiar with Thunder Agents?
Not at all.
No.
I am. It's interesting that because they're bringing a lot of new characters into the DC universe proper. Mm-hmm. This with characters like the Shield and characters like that we've been seeing creeping in right now. It's going to be interesting to see how all these characters interact. Are they going to lead to their own titles? Are they just going to be characters that are making appearances in the books? It's interesting to see what route they go with this, because we saw there's obviously some new ongoing from the Red Circle characters.
Right.
There's 2 new ongoings with co-features, right? So I think all 4 of the characters from the one-shots are technically in ongoings because of that.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see what they do with Thunder Agents out of this, and how they interact with the DCU characters.
It'll certainly be interesting for me because both Marvel and DC had huge announcements like that this week. With Thunder Agents being the one for DC and Marvel Man over at Marvel, Miracle Man.
I gotta say, Marvel won on that one. I am a huge Miracle Man fan, and if they're releasing, which from everything I've heard, it sounds like they've got the rights to the old material as well.
Yes.
If that's true, and they're re-releasing that stuff, that is a major score. The Alan Moore stuff from that is absolutely some of my favorite comics of all time.
Yeah,
So
plus they might very well wind up releasing that issue 25 that never came out.
Well, that would be great. Plus new.
But, oh yeah, of course, definitely. I mean, they won't have to worry about, pretending to be a character anymore and just basically have a character named Marvel Man in the Marvel universe. But let's get back to DC because that's the important thing here. Most importantly, Jeff Johns will be on the official Flash title once Flash Rebirth is all said and done.
I don't know how this guy ever sleeps.
Yeah. I mean, what isn't he doing right now?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he does.
I think that might be a shorter list.
I think obviously this is, there's a lot of reasons. This is one of the reasons why he left JSA. But there was also rumors, which I will talk a little bit more when we get to the JLA segments. And this is a rumor. It's not something that's been officially announced that there might be a second Justice League title with him
and Jim Lee. Yeah.
Yeah. And,
oh my God!
I mean, it's like,
please,
how is he going to do all this stuff? It's so I don't know.
That's why it's just a rumor right now because it could just be hoping and praying, but I'm just sort of happy to have James Robinson and Mark Bagley on one Justice League title right now. I think I'll take that for now.
Oh yeah, same with me. I agree.
And by the way, no, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, didn't they announce what that lineup was going to be after Cry for Justice?
Yes, they
partially.
Partially. Yeah.
It's Amonel, Dick Grayson, Batman, Donna Troy, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, and Vixen and Congarilla, and it's got to be the Atom as well because he's alluded to in the backups that in that commentary he's doing in the back that he wants Ray Palmer on the team.
Right.
So I'm assuming that Ray Palmer will be on the final team for this as well in some capacity.
It would make sense, yeah. But for now, they've still got those I think 3 or 4 spots blacked out. So hey, you never know.
As long as we're talking about this right now, have you guys seen the preview art of Mon-El's new costume?
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
What do you guys think? Let's go one at a time. Mandy, what do you think of that new costume? What is your initial thoughts?
I like it. I think didn't they allude to possibly a name change for him too? Did I hear something?
I thought I heard that as well. Maybe to do with his current status quo.
Right.
They should name him Super Dude.
Super Dude.
Yeah.
Yo, Super Dude.
Let's catch some waves.
Part of the reason I'm thinking that is, because he's gonna have the Superman shield on his outfit now, and he's being called Mon-El, and it's very, he's not really an L, but just that whole dynamic with him automatically being, he was before just by having the name Mon-El associated with Superman, but now by having that shield on his chest, even more so. So,
I think he should be Superman. Superman, hey!
Superman, hey, man! Superman, yeah!
I thought they were saying he was from England, not Jamaica.
Well, it's...
Close enough,
England, Jamaica.
You say tomato, I say tomato.
Well, for a guy joining the Justice League, I think it's actually very important that he has that S symbol on because Superman is such an integral part of the Justice League that if he's not around, then they got to let everybody know that there might not be the Superman, but we have a Superman on the team, and that's about all we need.
Someone with the same power.
Right.
I like Donna Troy being on the team, and I'm sorry, the rest of you all are you guys all fond of that costume, or is anyone not?
I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I'm groovy.
Yeah, I like I like the transition. I like it because it's enough of a nod to his traditional look, while at the same time acknowledging the fact that he's filling in for this man.
Right. You look at when Steel first hit the scene, he had the S symbol on, and he was like, hey, I wear this to honor the man who saved my life. And, it's a very similar type of thing where it's an honoring to Superman.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. And it's also kind of funny that, Dick Grayson added the bat symbol onto the belt, and now Mon-El adds the Superman symbol onto like the chest area. So I guess in some ways they're both honoring their in some ways idols, by adding a little bit extra onto their outfits.
I like Dick Grayson's costume tweaks. I know it looks slightly different depending on which artist
Who draws it?
But we have that same basic, the shorter gloves and it's more of a. I like especially in it's funny, the book I'm really enjoying the internal exploration of Dick Grayson in the main Batman book, because we're getting to see like him dealing with things like the cape and how that needs to be modified in order for him to be able to fight with his style. And I like just little tidbits like that and little tweaks that are personalized to him. I'm enjoying him as Batman. I don't know how you guys all feel, but him as Batman, I'm a huge Bruce Wayne mark. And Dick Grayson as Batman right now is incredibly satisfying.
It fits. It really does. And it although I have to say, nothing is creepier than a Batman that smiles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
well, if nothing else tips like the Gotham City PD off that this is a different Batman. Just have Batman smile. And it's like, yeah, that's not him.
You know what I like, though? It's funny that you touch on that. One of the things that I really do like about this exploration of Dick Grayson is that it's the people that had the most interaction with Bruce as Batman that are picking up on the fact that something's off. You got Commissioner Gordon, you've got Two-Face picking up on these things. But your average police officer who didn't have one-on-one dealings with him aren't picking up on it. They're seeing little things like, isn't he a little bit,
wasn't he taller?
Wasn't he taller? And isn't he, those type of little off comments are great, but nothing that would really distinguish like facial features or smile or something like that. But Jim Gordon would catch every bit of those things that we as fans are catching. And I like that. I like the distinction. I do like that Two-Face caught on to it.
Yeah. Well, of all people to catch on to it, Two-Face would be the one, because he's the one who's had the most dealings with Dick and Bruce in the past.
Right. It's very cool.
Definitely.
Donna Troy as long as we're on Justice League right now. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ian. I know you're.
No. Sure. Go ahead.
As long as
you're the host.
Yeah. Well, no. I mean, I appreciate you taking some time out though to give us some feedback directly from the con. It's always fun to talk to somebody who was there. Yeah. Donna Troy. It's fun that we're going through, because Wonder Woman's in the DC universe. I mean, she's out of the Trinity itself. She's still there, but with as much turmoil as going on with Paradise Island and her world right now, it would make sense that she is not in a position to come back at this moment to the Justice League. Donna Troy, on the other hand, is in a great position. Well, it is funny. I'm very curious to see what's going on with the Titans.
Yeah, actually, funny you should mention that, because at the panel itself, there was mention that the Titans are going to have a huge shakeup.
Good.
Specifically, the leader of the Titans is going to be, drumroll please, Deathstroke.
Whoa. Which they've explored before, but considering Deathstroke's status at this point in time, it's a lot bigger twist than it was when it happened last time around.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And they also mentioned that Raven is going to wind up in Teen Titans.
I heard that, and that makes a lot of sense to start. I'm guessing they're overhauling both teams.
Probably, yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially since, there are some new arrivals that the Teen Titans probably are going to have to deal with, if you know what I mean.
Well, I mean, let's throw that out there. I'm guessing Connor Kent, Bart Allen back on Titans.
I hope so.
Hopefully, yeah.
For the Young Justice fan in me, I certainly hope so.
Yeah. And Wonder Girl sticking around, and Red Robin, perhaps?
Perhaps, yeah. Well, Sterling Gates is going to be writing a Kid Flash series, by the way.
Nice!
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. That's exciting.
I did not hear that.
I did not hear that, and outstanding.
yeah. So even if we don't get Kid Flash and Teen Titans, we'll be certainly getting our fill of Bart Allen.
We'll get our.
I was
fix.
such an
Good.
And weren't there some comments too about some Kid Flash Supergirl team ups?
I don't believe that was at the panel that I was at, but I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah. I think it might have. Oh, geez, it was after that was announced, and somebody might have asked him a question about it, and he's okay. So,
Sure, why not?
sure.
It would make sense though, because traditionally, we see Gail Simone is doing this right now with Wonder Woman and Secret Six.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how she's bringing Black Canary into Wonder Woman, a character that she's previously worked with. It would make sense that you're taking a character that you're currently writing and take the opportunity to team them up on some level. So I actually like, though, the way that they're doing it, and I hope if it's done, that it's done completely in one book or the other, because that's kind of fun as well.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and plus, with a character like Kid Flash that's been gone for so long, you don't want to overexpose him.
No.
You don't want him to be too many places at once. Like if he's in Flash and Kid Flash and in Teen Titans, then for all the next thing we know, he's everywhere again, and they're having to cut back on him. I say reintroduce him nice and slow, and heck, if Sterling Gates is writing Kid Flash, I'm good to go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
Any mention our art team?
None yet, and that was the case with both Flash and Kid Flash. They weren't quite ready to announce the art, but specifically for Flash, Jeff Johns said you will be pleased.
Did you guys read the most current issue of Supergirl? I'm not going to spoil anything with this comment, but
Yeah.
did you,
That was
Ian?
No, it hasn't come to me yet.
Yeah.
The Gilding Day issue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the day, Ian. Without spoiling, it's the day.
Mm-hmm.
The premise. It starts right at the beginning. The premise is that she's got to choose the guild that she's going to be in, similar to what Clark had to go through.
Right.
And I'm just going to leave that right there. My comment here is, this guy Sterling Gates just gets better and better every issue on Supergirl. So to hear that he has another title at all is, to me, welcome news, because this is a writer who, to me, has taken Supergirl and made Supergirl a must-read title every month.
Yeah.
So,
And he's doing a World's Finest mini too, isn't he?
yes, yeah, the one that it's like it's Batman encountering the current Batman, Dick Grayson, encountering. I think it's not just Batman. I think it's a lot of the characters in the Batman universe right now encountering the Superman universe.
Yes.
As is.
Yeah,
Specifically,
that's it.
and I think Mon-El was involved in that as well. Yeah, because it is the Superman universe as a whole.
Well, probably this is a natural lead-in to then them being in Justice League together, right? This would be almost a prelude to that.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I am very happy at the moment because they're doing a lot of. I'm reading. I'm not going to go too Marvel crazy at the moment. I'm loving Captain America. And,
I'm so happy you mentioned Captain America, because I'm about to mention something Captain America.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not going to go crazy into that direction, but it's a great. I'm excited for Steve Rogers coming back and everything like that. And I think that's great because I'm a big Steve Rogers fan as well. But because I've been following this series since Brubaker wrote it. But this is a great example how you craft a book with somebody taking over for the other character, and you make it very hard for a reader to distinguish over, do I want the old guy back? I loved what you were doing with him, but I like the new guy so much that I'm really torn. And it really is an issue of, that's a great example of where I like both under Brubaker's reigns. So I'm feeling this way in DC right now, right off with what they're doing in Superman at the moment and what they're doing in Batman at the moment. They're really doing a great job of crafting these characters in a way that they feel like they can stick around. And maybe some of them, well, I don't know. It's interesting. But it's a great comparison. Go ahead, Ian, what were you going to say about
Well, what I was going to say about Captain America, I was basically going to be leading this into DC here, that the guy who asked the question to Gail Simone about how long he was going to be on Secret Six, also making you happy because she responded with, as long as I can possibly be there. She will be on Secret Six because the team is just so perfect that she doesn't want to be anywhere else. But the guy who asked the question was Black Lantern Captain America.
Nice.
That's great. That's great.
And that's after the day before at the DC Nation panel, the Blue Lantern shirt went to Black Lantern Billy Mays.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, that's just wrong. Too soon. Come on, that's Billy Mays.
I read that, and I half wanted to laugh and half wanted to be like, no, that's wrong.
Well, Billy Mays
selling
being
Orange Clean?
Hey, whatever it was, Billy Mays could sell it.
Well, he was basically, hi, I'm Billy Mays for the Black Lantern Corps.
Wow. Hey, you guys laugh, but Hawkman's part of the Black Lantern Corps. I'm a little into them at the moment.
Sean is rooting for the bad guys.
Their status is rising for me. The dead will rise. I'm thinking they might win.
Well, did you guys happen to hear who the new writer on Teen Titans is?
I have not.
I heard.
Is it Felicia Henderson? Is that her name?
Yes, Felicia Henderson. Yes.
Right.
Who is a television writer who's making her way over to DC Comics with Teen Titans.
She's Fringe, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I love Fringe, so
As
that
do
was to me great news.
Yeah, same here. I think Teen Titans, well, kind of both Titans and Teen Titans have sort of been stuck in a little bit of a rut over the past couple months. I mean, again, that's just my opinion. I know other people might disagree with that. So I'm kind of happy to see that there's a little bit of a change going on both with Teen Titans and Titans to try and give it a new direction and maybe recapture that glory and flair they had in their early months.
Titans has been a book. It's funny. I've had moments where I've really loved the main Titans series. I've had moments where I've really loved issues of that book, and then other moments where I'm just kind of like, it seems like they don't have a direction
Right.
of that book.
Yeah.
So I mean, I love the Death Trap crossover. I really enjoyed. I thought it was a great crossover. But then it was like leading up to it. We talked about this. I think there was a few issues leading up to it that I got into it. The book started clicking for me, and I think it's obvious, though, that they had certain plans in place that what they were going to do. And I think, once, Dick Grayson started leaving and events in the DC universe kind of left Titans in a place where that book with the team lineup that they have just isn't going to work.
Yeah.
By any stretch. And McKeever no longer being on Teen Titans as well, his direction was really focused on Blue Beetle, Kid Devil, the newer crowd that had been
right.
in. And the fact that crowd looks like I'm guessing, my personal feeling is that because of the returning Connor Kent and Bart Allen, and I'm guessing that part of the changes with Teen Titans has to do with a lot of those characters coming back to that book. I would assume.
Yeah.
I would assume as well. Yeah. And it sort of makes sense that Kid Devil and characters like that were the focus for Sean McKeever, because I guess they were the characters that he could really have his own stamp on. Like he was making major changes to Kid Devil, and Blue Beetle was a character that he brought on, and a bunch of others. So to focus more on those as opposed to the characters that were already previously established with Jeff Johns sort of made sense. But at the same time, you got to sort of have the entire team involved to make a cohesive, continuing story go on in the book. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to really find that balance.
I'm going to be curious to see where the Titans universe goes from here.
Yeah.
I agree. It's ready for a shakeup. It really is completely ready for a shakeup. That I think that ultimately for Titans fans, we're all looking for that at this point.
Here.
Yeah.
Now, one of the other things that got brought up at the panel, and actually, I'll admit this one was brought up by my girlfriend because she went up there and asked it because she's a huge Connor Hawk fan. And as everybody knows, he left the Green Arrow Black Canary series when Kreisberg took over. And we really haven't seen him since. And major changes happened to Connor Hawke in that series previously that sort of changed the character a little bit. So she went up and asked what the plans are for Connor Hawke. And the response was, and I honestly wasn't expecting to hear even this much out of it, considering that he hasn't been anywhere. There are big plans for Connor Hawke in the next year. Big plans.
Nice.
Plans that spin off of other series. Plans that might spin off to something else. And that's according to Dan DiDio. So, they haven't forgotten about Connor Hawke, which is good.
I wonder if what was done to him has bigger ramifications than we all realize.
It's possible.
I could be just reading into that. I'm just, with you saying that, if you look at his status quo right now and where he was when that series, changed hands, and he had his final issue, he was really in a very different place still. Elements of his former self were coming back, but the elevator wasn't going all the way to the top floor.
No.
Right.
So I'm wondering if it'll play off of that, or if prior to what they're alluding to, if we're going to see him reconnect with his former self or not. I'm a big fan of Connor Hawke, so I'm glad to hear that we're going to be hearing more from him.
Well, I'll certainly hope that they're going to give his archery abilities back, because taking those away seemed like a little bit of a misstep to me, because he's Green Arrow, and to remove the arrow from the green
from him, yeah,
exactly.
He's just green.
Yes, exactly.
And it's not easy being green.
No, it's not.
I was totally setting you up for that, Jim. Thank you.
No, thank you. And because you did such a wonderful setup, I didn't sing it, so I gave you back a favor.
You kind of did.
No, I just said if I was going to sing it, it's not easy being green.
Wow.
Yeah.
It actually sounded better the first time you said it. It was actually more musical the first time you said it.
It's not easy having eardrums.
Hey, I'll sing Michael Jackson.
No.
You guys want to bleed? I'll make you bleed.
Wait. Now, hold on. Let's just have some clarification.
Okay.
You actually really won't. You'll say you will.
I'm 2 states away, but I will go. No.
If I start hearing
I like
dogs
this thread,
howling,
actually. I'd pay big money to see this.
if I start hearing dogs howling in Brooklyn, I'll know why.
Mandy, I'll even sweeten that a little bit. Whatever your financial cost to be, wherever that threat was going to go, I will be happy to reimburse them.
Oh, well then.
Hey, I'm sorry, Ian. So Connor Hawke is going to be featured. Looks like he's going to be a big player, at least on some level.
Yeah, that's the way that they made it sound. So I assume that's post Blackest Night, and we'll hear more about that. Now, inside of Blackest Night, a guy went up there and asked about Ion, considering what's been happening to him recently in Green Lantern Corps. Whether we're going to find out more about him, and obviously the answer is he'll have a more impact in Blackest Night and in the Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps titles.
Loving that character.
Same here.
I've loved him since the one shot from Sinestro Corps.
Yeah.
Where they really focused on him. What a great way to introduce that character and get you hooked in. And I've been glued to him every appearance, past, present, and future. Because that guy's been all over the place.
Oh, boy.
His Legion of Three Worlds appearance was really good.
Yeah, that was
yes.
a good one.
And in New Krypton as well.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. Basically, him learning about there being more people like him out there.
Yeah.
Got an appearance in Superman this week too.
Oh, okay.
Very cool.
Yes.
I can't wait to read that now. Now, another topic that was brought up, and sorry, scrolling down here because my brain is not working. Here we go. That first meeting between Bart, Connor, Tim, and Cassie will indeed take place in the first arc of Adventure Comics.
Nice. Because I really wanted to see that.
Yes, and better yet, written by Jeff Johns.
Right.
So, hey.
We got, woohoo, score!
Yeah.
Woo!
I'm curious
Yeah.
to see how that book plays out. Because I guess I thought initially that Adventure Comics was going to be like exclusively when it was originally announced, because they couldn't obviously reveal to us that Connor Kent was returning at that point in time. That I was assuming that was just going to be exclusively a Legion of Superheroes book, but it seems like that book is going to have like a co-feature aspect to it.
It is.
I think the Legion is the co-feature, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, from the way that they've been describing it, that's the way it's going to be. It's going to be split between Superboy and Legion. Quite possibly with that changing up, once those specific arcs are done, whether or not they're going to change it up with other characters. But it is definitely going to be at least a split story.
So
Nice.
Do we know which Legion it's going to be?
Actually, they addressed that.
Didn't John say all three?
Yep.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
I was glad that it turned out that there was 3 of them.
I agree.
That they didn't, because they could have honestly, kind of made some combination of them, but it works so much better that they actually told us where all 3 were from. I like that we knew at the end where all 3 were from and then how that all worked out. That's, I think that'll make for some interesting storytelling.
Well, it's yet again Jeff Johns, putting things right continuity-wise, as opposed to having a bunch of stories that don't make sense in the current DCU. They all make sense because they were all different Legions.
Well, I think that honors, too, various groups of Legion fans, because I'm very familiar with, the first Legion group straight on through. But, for a lot of people, the Mark Waid, Barry Kitson Legion run is their first Legion run. And that had some very unique, definable characteristics to that group that I think people, it was very critically acclaimed. It was the political intrigue that was developed in that series and everything made that a very unique experience as well. And I think to ignore that group as its own entity would be a huge mistake. So it really is kind of a nice way to provide opportunities to tell stories with whatever Legion group you want to, or even to have them interact on some level.
Definitely, yeah. By doing that, you mentioned that you've got different groups of fans. You've also got different age groups in there as well.
Oh, sure.
A lot of people like myself, the only Legion that I'm really familiar with is the Mark Waid Legion.
Right.
Even though the previous Legion was around in the 90s, I wasn't really, into it when it was first around. So to me, that's my Legion. I know the other ones are around there, and I enjoyed the Superman titles and everything. But now I can know that I can safely go back to those titles and read previous arcs or whatnot, and know that they're still relevant in the scheme of things. Right. In I always forget the one where Parallax reignites the sun. Dang it, I always forget.
Final Night.
Yeah. Thank you, Final Night. Yeah. The other Legion was in that. The 90s Legion. With Pharaoh and all those guys, and if for some reason they were all of a sudden out of continuity, well, then half of the Final Night story is out of continuity, and that's just silly. So
here's the thing: as you're having this really meaningful discussion, and you're making a brilliant point, by the way, Sean reaches over to his Lego Hawkman and puts
Lego Hawkman. You got it for me, Mini Mate.
Oh, Mini Mate Hawkman, and puts his Black Lantern ring over him.
I smell a clue.
Smell a mystery. Yes.
Yeah. It looks good.
Oh boy!
You're gonna start poking out his eyes now, and or taking a Sharpie and putting over him.
That's sacrilege.
It must be intact.
Yeah, it's sacrilege because he will come back.
Well, what are you going to think?
When he'll come back? He's one of the few Black Lanterns that can actually say this. You know when he'll come back? When he's ready.
When I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'll come back when I'm ready.
Actually,
and not a minute before.
I'm sorry.
I'm sleepy. I'm going to take a little bit of a break.
Yeah. What else was going on at the San Diego DC Universe panel? What else is there anything else that stood out for you at that panel?
Well, I'll mention a couple of things real quick here. They mentioned that all of Hitman will be collected in trade.
I was excited for that because so far they've only put out that first trade.
Right.
And to me, for anybody that's a Preacher fan out there, we're going to be doing Preacher Next month, we're going to be doing Preacher. That's going to be one of the
Okay.
upcoming segments. And we're going to do the first hardcover, which is the first 12 issues of the series. But Hitman, to me, Garth Ennis and John McCrea, it's every bit as good. It's set in the DC universe, but it's very edgy, and it's just as much a buddy book as Preacher was. You know, where there's just wonderful, well-developed characters that you can't help but enjoy. Because he had a wonderful, it wasn't just the Hitman, he had a wonderful supporting cast. Did any of you read that, Hitman, at all?
No.
No.
It's one, now how many of you, I know, Jim, you started Preacher.
Yeah.
Mandy or Ian, have either of you read any of Preacher?
No.
Sadly not, no.
Yeah, it's any of those books, highest possible recommendation if you like something edgy that isn't afraid to offend, but yet has great character development, great storytelling, and actual segments that pull deeply at your heartstrings. It does all these things where it's not afraid to offend a whole bunch of people, but yet at the same time, it doesn't lack substance and depth. There's whole issues where it's strictly firm character development, developing internal dialogue of a character, really getting to the heart of who they are. By the time you're done with either of those series, these feel like real people. And the last issue of both were two of I put both of these books up with James Robinson's Starman as far as feeling very complete at the end of them. And the ride throughout was just a ride that wouldn't stop. Wonderful writing, great dialogue all the way through, and just something. Both are very unique experiences, yet they have the Ennis touch to them. And it is something I can't recommend these books highly enough. Next month, we'll be telling everyone, after we're done with our For Tomorrow, we'll take a few weeks and do some current stuff, and then we'll do a really in-depth study of Preacher. And it's a book that's, Jim, I know you've been reading it now. I'm reading the hardcover, and this is the first time that I've read Preacher since I read the original series when it came out. I read it as it was coming out. I was reading each issue multiple times and really enjoying them. And I don't know why I haven't revisited it. It's just because of all the new material. And this 12 issues, reading it through, I've already read the hardcover twice. I can't put it down. It's great. And I know I'll read it a third time before we do the actual episodes. And not because I had to. Honestly, the one reading was enough. It's cool. So, I mean, it is something, hearing that Hitman is going to be, I'm like, why? How did I get over here? Hitman is going to be collected completely. And I do hope they go complete with it. It puts a smile on my face, because it's material that's up on that level. And with today's trade program, I want to see more collections that are collecting complete series. Because I don't know that you necessarily need to do it with every book, but there's a number of books, and Hitman is one of them, that you can't really miss an issue.
Well, they still won't give me my damn Young Justice trade, no matter what I do.
And,
Somebody brought that up at one of the panels, didn't they?
That was me. That was me.
Well, that was you.
Was it you?
All right.
Yeah. I was also the one that asked Gail Simone about the silly interludes in Secret Six, and if we should expect more, and she said most certainly.
Ah, nice.
But yeah, I was.
Do you think Bob Wayne knows it's you now?
Yes, I believe he does.
Because I didn't even think that was probably you, because I saw online what you want to share what the response was?
Basically, I didn't bother to stick around because I knew the answer was going to be no, and he said, "Oh, look, he's walking away."
Oh, okay, that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Well, but mostly because we actually took him aside at New York Comic Con and asked him about Young Justice specifically, and also asked him about Chase, because that's another series that I'd love to see traded one of these days. And his response at the time was, there's much more of a chance of seeing Chase traded than Young Justice, because he doesn't think Young Justice would be able to sell. And I don't agree with that.
Wow.
I myself don't. They put out one trade once, and I guess that one trade didn't do well enough for them to revisit it. And I don't know when it's going to happen, but maybe someday we'll get lucky enough to get more Young Justice. But right now it's relevant.
I'll argue, though, that when they put that trade out, if I remember correctly, it was well before John's Titans run.
Yes, it was.
Which I think that is a pivotal difference to putting it out now. I think to put out that trade now, similar to how they're re-releasing Hitman now.
Yeah.
I think there's an audience now that is very into the Titans group that John's introduced on his first run. I know, Jim, you're one of them. You didn't read any Young Justice, did you?
I haven't either. I mean, I wasn't even reading when Young Justice was going on, and just from reading some of John's run on Teen Titans and hearing so much about it, I'm like, wow, if everybody's just really loves it this much, it's got to be good. I mean, it's at least worth checking out and being able to look at. So
I'm binding mine. I'm buying an entire set, and I'm going to bind it because really, I'm not going to wait. I basically just decided that.
I read the whole series, and including the what was the little mini event that they had with that Sun? I forget the name of it now.
Sins of Youth.
Sins of Youth. Thank you very much. The Sins of Youth series as well, and that was a book that, just to me, if you read that book and then you read the current Titans series from the beginning with the group that kicked off with Raven, Cyborg, Starfire, Robin and Connor and Kid Flash and Beast Boy and Wonder Girl, there's a nice transition because like Wonder Girl, Kid Flash, Connor, and Robin were on that team of Young Justice. And it was really kind of a birth of them as a team, starting off with the three boys first, and then adding on the rest of the group later. And they had the Secret was a cool character as well. It's just it's a great book that had its own unique characters and led to a natural transition to them being in Titans. It's well worth seeking out in back issue bins for anybody who's looking for it. It's because it looks like that's the only way you're going to get it.
Yeah, and I mean, and plus you had characters like Red Tornado involved, Snapper Carr, Empress, all these characters that are still around in the DCU.
It at least warrants a showcase.
Yeah.
Because you can release that in a showcase volume if they're not going to do a regular trade. Put it in a showcase.
It's politics. That's really what it is. I mean, in my opinion, and this is just me grasping at straws here, but I'm pretty certain it's because Peter David no longer works for DC Comics, and they don't believe that there's any reason to hype, a series with a writer that doesn't write for them anymore.
Well, Garth Ennis' stuff they're re-releasing though, and he's not working for them right now.
But Garth Ennis is Garth Ennis.
True.
Garth Ennis is a name that basically sells on name alone. Peter David, not nearly as much.
But he has an immense name recognition. I don't know. That's a tough one. It's a tough call because they're two very different kinds of writers. Yeah. So I don't know.
Well, because Supergirl never really had the best numbers in the world. Right. Young Justice, when it was out, never had the best numbers in the world. Aquaman was strong for a while and then faded. So basically, that's what. And they're
I think all three were like you named three titles that I think are underrated and were brilliant.
I agree. Yeah,
those are all three of those should easily by anybody. You just named three titles off for anybody listening right now. If you haven't read any of those, Peter David's Aquaman, Supergirl, or Young Justice, do yourself a favor. And I would actually for the Aquaman, I would go back before that to Atlantis Chronicles and read his Atlantis Chronicles miniseries leading into Aquaman, and that's why I want Aquaman back.
Well, he's gonna be kind of back.
I read a Black Lantern Aquaman
His body's
series.
going to be back.
Maybe that's the way to make him universally cool. Keep him a Black Lantern.
My ability to talk to fish is useless.
Yeah, that's right. So I'll kill them all.
And just to finish up on the trades angle, they are looking to put back into print Green Arrow, Longbow Hunters, and they're considering trading John Ostrander's Suicide Squad. Cool. So those were the two other mentions of trades that were mentioned at the panel, and that's about it for trades.
I hope if Longbow Hunters does well, that will lead to them going through the rest of the Grell series straight on through.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Grell stuff was... I mean, the whole series, I loved that whole series. But the Grell stuff, especially in the beginning that kicked it off, really a very edgy Green Arrow that I don't understand why that's not being collected. some of the showcases, I guess I don't understand why we're not getting more, like the Booster Gold is and Ambush Bug are the only two, if I believe, they're the only two really modern showcase volumes we've gotten so far. I'm not the Grell stuff. I really like the Grell stuff more so than a showcase. That needs to be full color because that was absolutely gorgeous material. That I would love to see those in full color trades.
Yeah, I picked up a couple of back issues of that, and it was very pretty.
Yeah, it's definitely stuff for Green Arrow fans to seek out, Jim. Well, you're a huge Arrow fan, and that would be one you want to see some really edgy Green Arrow. Anything with Mike Grell on it, I would go grab. But anything else, Ian, from on the DC end at the con that kind of stood out for you?
Three more things real quick that I can basically say were, I guess, the most important ones at the end here. Speaking of Snapper Carr, he will be in James Robinson's Justice League.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So there is a possibility, and basically that was brought up because someone asked if they can get a Brave and the Bold Snapper Carr Jimmy Olsen. which
that would actually be really funny.
I would love to see that. And since James Robinson's writing both characters, you could very well see something like that in one of the books.
Right.
Nice.
And the last issue of Planetary will be out in October, which was mentioned here, and you will see Crypto in Adventure Comics.
I thought the way you were setting that up, I thought you were going to say you were going to see Crypto in Planetary. I'm like,
in Planetary,
what?
Yes. That would be even more fun.
Yeah.
And he's in Blackest Night Superman as well.
Crypto?
Yeah. And Adventure Comics and Blackest Night Superman, you'll be seeing the dog.
I got myself all confused. I got Crypto in Blackest Night. I got Crypto in Planetary. I got Planetary in Adventure Comics.
There's Planetary in my Adventure Comics. There's Adventure Comics in my Planetary.
I'm excited that Planetary is going to be wrapping up.
Yeah, it's about time.
I think they said something at one of the panels, I think it was the Wildstorm one, about any fans who would like to see Absolute Planetary reprinted to start emailing Wildstorm. Because they've done multiple reprints of other Absolutes. So that would be one. They said if people want to see that again, to go ahead and do that.
Right.
And so I hope people will do that if they want to see more Planetary. But that's great that'll be wrapping up as well.
And Ambush Bug Year None number 6 should be out in about a month or two. Considering that's been like uber delayed as well. Basically, they had to make some writing changes in it. And because Keith Giffen was involved in so many other things right now, obviously he's doing both Metal Men and Doom Patrol, and he's doing a bunch of other books. So really it just kept sitting on Dan DiDio's desk untouched until eventually they got to it. They made the changes that needed to be made, and now they're basically just printing it out, and hopefully within the next month or two we should see the conclusion of that series.
I'm glad to see Giffen on the Metal Men preview. Looks really good so far.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm excited to see him back on a regular series. And which one is it? Is it Metal Men or Doom Patrol that he's doing with? Isn't it DeMatteis is joining him on one of those books?
That would be Metal Men.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the entire Bwahaha gang back.
Yeah, which I think that'll be a great team to see writing that. I think I'm ready for a book from them again.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, the band is back together.
And yeah, that was pretty much it that I can think of. I mean, basically every base was covered that could possibly be covered at the DC Universe panel this year, and I was happy to see such a in-depth, not only questions from the audience being answered, but actually bringing up stuff. The only thing they wouldn't answer was Batgirl, but that's a given because that's a secret. Shh.
Yeah, I honestly think that is going to be. I'm like almost 110% sure that it's not Cassandra Cain.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't think it is.
No, from the preview art, I don't think it's Cassie. No.
Yeah, I mean the preview art could easily be a red herring, but I don't think so. I think that is Batgirl. So the question is, who is that?
I think it might be a certain Birds of Prey character, and I ain't talking Oracle.
No. I'm thinking either Misfit or Stephanie Brown myself.
Yeah.
Misfit having a slight edge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's
Misfit has a head. I think I think we're going to see Misfit, which would be kind of cool because she's always wanted to be Batgirl, so now she's getting to put on she's putting on the cowl.
Yeah.
I mean, she did have 8 seconds in Teen Titans.
Yeah.
And the writer of that series is a Smallville writer.
Mm-hmm.
Which is going to be interesting to see the transition to comics with that. So, and I like the writing on Smallville, so I'm happy for this. This is going to be interesting to see how that book pans out.
Jeff Johns JSA episode, woo! Yay!
So, San Diego for you, Ian. That was you did Tuesday through Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So you did everything there. Any other recommendations for San Diego for people who are interested in going? Or what about any tips for people planning to go to the con? When should they start planning? Any special tips that you would recommend to people to make that an easier? Because I've heard that it's like nuts trying to get yourself set up for that con.
Oh, yeah.
What do you do to prepare for it?
Well, basically, usually the minute that rooms are released, which would usually be about 3 or 4 months before the actual convention itself. So I'd say probably around, I think it was May, they first released the actual room situations, like hotel rooms and everything. Don't do it online. Call. Now, you might be thinking that's silly. Why would I call? But I almost guarantee you that the system is going to get choked up online, because so many people are going to be hitting it at once. And you have a much better chance of getting a non-busy signal when you're calling than you are when you're actually doing the online thing. You can try both. You can try doing both at once. But we were lucky enough to get our room mostly because I gave up online. I started calling. I got through, and I got my first choice of hotel.
Well, you know what? It would probably be too online. Probably part of the issue there. It's funny that you mentioned that. You figure if 125,000 people went, now not everyone. Some people are local and things like that, and
right.
Might not be staying as close to the con. They might try other avenues. But you figure when you go online, there's a lot of people. I know for myself, there's a lot of cons where I will browse. Even if I'm thinking there's a small inkling of a chance I might be able to go, I might browse to check out prices and things like that. So you're not just competing with people who are definitely going. You're competing with people who might be going, who are excited and still trying to make their decisions. So you're right. That's probably a really good advice. If so, now he's going to be like, darn it, all the busy signals.
Yeah.
In my big mouth, right? Well, some of the other suggestions, like I said, try to get a hotel room on either 1st Avenue or 5th Avenue, because that's where the crosswalks are leading to the convention center. So otherwise you're going to have to walk up, and you're going to have to worry about it that way. If you get a hotel on 1st Avenue, the other advantage of that is that the Ralph's 24-hour supermarket is on 1st Avenue. So if you're leaving the con at 12:30 and you're hankering for some food, you're guaranteed to have at least a couple of sandwiches or stuff like that you can grab at the Ralph's and take it back to your hotel room and eat that way.
Nice.
Good tip.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I was thinking, in my own weird way of trying to work around lines and situations like that. How much is it to get a show floor table? Because we get 20 people together and all sleep under the table.
Well, it's funny. It's funny you mention that. To go serious on your silliness.
I don't know how silly I was being.
Well, the prices of tables have been going up every single year.
I read that online, actually. Yeah, it's bad for next year, I think.
Well, that's why a lot of the guys that actually are in comics are thinking that they're trying to choke out the comic guys and that they're trying to go completely pop culture here, because if you keep raising the prices where actual comic book sellers can't afford anything, what the hell are you supposed to do? You're stuck. You can't just get an artist alley table for an actual dealer. That would be silly. And you're left with very little options there. You're probably just going to wind up going to a smaller con and hedge your bets that way.
You know what my wish list is for the San Diego Con? I really think it would be more beneficial to comic companies and multimedia companies. Even, shows like Lost and things like that. I wish they would televise the doggone panels.
Yeah.
You could really, during San Diego, how many wasted channels are there on satellite or cable or all that stuff that couldn't, run for a day?
Right.
Those panels. I would pay-per-view some of the panels.
Yeah, I was just thinking that to pay-per-view.
A short amount of money. I mean, $25 if I can't go, $25 to go through like 5 or 6 panels that I really want to see would be worth it to me.
Oh,
I honestly would.
Yeah.
I mean, what comic fan wouldn't? But I mean, you could even, like I said, a channel with commercials and things like that in between the panels.
Televise the Masquerade.
Sure.
I guarantee you people will be watching that. I mean, they had 2 simulcast rooms set up for the Masquerade inside of the convention itself for overflow. So, obviously there's people that want to just sit down and watch it.
So, I don't get it. I mean, I was watching the G4 coverage, and I kept telling – my wife watched it with me. And I kept telling her, I said, my biggest frustration here is I'm liking what they're doing. I said it's fun, and it's a funny show, and it was great and all. So I'm not knocking it. I just wanted more. Like, when they started talking to the comic companies, I just kept thinking to myself, I'm like, this would be a great lead into the panel. Do this and then show us the panel. Why not? Because they were part of the Star Wars panel there, so they did like the whole Star Wars panel on television. And I'm like, well, why don't we just do all of them on television? And that's a perfect channel to like air that. I mean,
well, what kind of programming does G4 have? Like throughout the day.
Well, I mean, it's video games and media.
Okay.
It's typical, tech. They on Attack of the Show, they always have they periodically will have a comic book segment on there, which I really quite enjoy. So I mean, it is like a channel that could do a lot more from San Diego than what they're already doing. The coverage that they have, I mean, honestly, not to knock them because they're doing more coverage than anybody else. So yay them, and I'm thrilled that they're doing that. My point, I'm being greedy and saying, why not? You got a con that is generating 125,000 people. If that many people go to it, how many people want to watch it? I mean, it's, to me, for advertising dollars alone, to license that from the con, it's good for the con. I mean, it's brilliant advertising for anybody. If you're having a panel at that con, you're advertising something. To have that on television like that, besides the 125,000 people that are there, it's only going to be good for the con. It's going to be good for the media companies there. I don't get it. We're at a day and age where, or online at least. Wait, stream them. Why aren't we getting those panels streamed? We're getting them podcast from a lot of them, like DC podcasts, all their stuff. I think it's great. But I want to see, let's see video podcasts now of it or something.
Well, we all know that Jim has those Hollywood connections. So come on, Jim, get at it.
Yeah, give us the magic.
Yeah.
You keep saying you're going to do it. Now
I always
you
bring
won't
the
do
magic.
it.
I always bring the
magic. All right, well, where
is
is it?
Oh, how about that?
But yeah, no, I agree. I'd love to see something like that. Really, they just gotta see if it's viable and if they believe that people would watch it. And I really do think they will. I mean, hell, if DirecTV can show like video game tournaments,
right?
And actually generate money off of that, I'm sure they could generate money off of a Lost panel. Or right,
yeah,
is going to be on the Booster Gold cover.
I think that's hilarious.
Yeah, but I think it's great.
So do I. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Just hilarious at the same time.
Yeah, but I mean that's somebody right from G4, who is a huge comic fan. I'm glad to see that. Like I said, I'm not knocking them because I think it's great that they're acknowledging this con and giving it as much coverage as they are, because they had at least 5 hours of coverage on that day. 2 hours were devoted to their Star Wars panel, but then they had 3 hours from the rest of the con. But I just kept thinking about something like, talk about easy programming. The panels are right there. Yeah. Just start airing those babies.
Yeah.
And use these segments that they're doing as lead-ins. So I wouldn't take anything away that they did. I would use them to frame these panels. Yeah. It's to me, it's definitely something that they need to start exploring, because I want to see more from the comic companies on television.
Yeah, no, I'd love to see that as well, especially since DC is owned by Warner Brothers.
Sure.
So I mean that's an easy in, and I mean Marvel's got Marvel Studios and everything, so they could probably get something going with that if they get the right person behind it. But This is all ifs. They really just need to just go about it and see whether or not it's actually viable. Because, we could talk about it until the cows come home, but if Marvel and DC and the rest of the guys don't want to do it, then, it's just pipe dreams.
Well, you know what?
So
let's be honest about it, though. Marvel and DC and those guys, they want it. They would be nuts not to want to do it.
Oh, yeah.
It really is an issue of getting television media to – because, to me nowadays with the video-on-demand services that we all have on our televisions, things like I keep pointing it to San Diego just because that is the, mecca of comic conventions. That is the one. And it also has a nice lead in because it doesn't just have to be comic material. They get all the Hollywood stuff as well. So give us all of the panels, including the media-related ones. I'm not just saying the comic book ones. It's a great way, you've got that natural television, film lead-in to why they would be on there, but then it also gives us the comic book content as well. I think that convention has something for everybody. It has video gaming as well. So, you've really got a cross-media hook for a larger audience. And you can run that stuff video on demand or even just on, regular television, whatever. Even stream it. Like I said, streaming it would be another option. Nowadays, with our internet connections, we could all stream all this stuff, too. I just want to see more of it.
In the immortal words of Arnold Schwarzenegger, do it now!
That's right. But, Ian, thank you for your con coverage and all that. I really appreciate you. I know this was very last minute. I literally... I got your voicemail.
On.
Yeah. Well, no, it was. I got his voicemail, and then I shot him an email today. I said, I know this is last minute, but Jim's going out of town, and I'm like, if you're going to be around tonight and all that. And we were talking to Mandy, and I literally was looking over. I didn't even notice that you popped on, and I'm like, wait, Ian's on. Let's pull him into this because we started talking the Smallville panel, and I'm like, well, this is a perfect discussion to pull Ian in. Ian, comic timing. Tell our listeners what's coming up on comic timing.
Well, Comic Timing episode 93 will hopefully be up by the time this is out if Brent gets off his patoot. We've got a review corner coming out of about 4 or 5 books that we have been waiting to review. Basically, we do one Marvel, one DC, one independent pick every month, and we basically just talk about them once they come out, and we're going to be catching up on that. And then 94 will be our San Diego Comic-Con wrap-up, including all the interviews that I did at San Diego Comic-Con. We had a couple, actually, with the artist of the Chronos series from back in the 90s.
Nice.
I managed to get an interview with him. I had a little bit with Freddie Williams. Had a nice, long conversation with everybody's favorite Steve Bryant. And a bunch of other people out there, the creators of Dr. Tran, the writer of Penny Arcade. The list goes on, and that'll be out hopefully within the next week or so. And we're trying to get something together with possibly Jamal Igle and that Raph guy or whatever. I don't know, whatever. But but we're trying to get something going with that, and hopefully that'll be out in the next week and a half or so. So speakgeekspeak.com/comic timing, and you can find it on iTunes under Comic Timing Podcast.
Perfect. And Mandy?
Yeah.
What's life in the gutter?
What's
for our
life
listeners
in the gutter?
like who should be already reading this? What is life in the gutter?
Life in the gutter is me basically talking about what caught my eye in the DC universe each week. Disagreeing with Sean and Jim.
Well, I do like that. Sometimes you do keep it interactive with the show as well. So it's, that was fun as well. It's not. And what I like about it is not every column is fully interactive with the show, but sometimes you'll catch thoughts and things. So anybody listens to the show, it's a great. You say it's a blog, but really to me it's a full blown article that you're writing.
Yeah, I think it started out kind of as like a blog type, and it kind of escalated a little bit. So, which is fine.
And where can that be found, Mandy?
On Raging Bullets.
Never heard of it.
RagingBullets.com.
Raging what?
RagingBullets.com.
RagingBullets.com.
Raging Bullets. Oh, okay. I thought you said Raging Patulets. Okay.
It's with those guys that just talk and talk.
And don't stop.
Jim, shut him up already.
Yeah, like I could.
Hey, you're going to get to shut me up for a week because you're leaving for a week,
Yes.
Sensei.
Jim has to be careful. He knows that I'll come to Cleveland if he's not careful.
That's right. And I'll
And
pay.
Sean's
I know.
footing the bill.
Yeah.
Sean's paying freight now. Like, hey,
Freight, how do you think she's getting here?
Oh,
You just call me
considering your show bumpers, you would have loved this one Masquerade skit where all the Batman villains come out, in like their current garb, and they're running around, and all of a sudden they hear Batman's coming, and it turns out to be the Batman TV show, Batman and Robin.
oh, nice.
Wow.
And they come out all like holy caffeine, Batman! It looks like we've got a caper, and they're like, run for your lives.
Nice.
That's too funny.
Boy.
And Jim, where can you know what? I never do this. If people want to email you direct, because ragingbullets@gmail.com actually is technically to me. If people want to email you direct, what is your email address?
That's senseiofwhatnot@gmail.com.
Yeah, we should actually one of these months start Top Bullets again.
Yeah, we should. But
Yeah, we'll do it after Preacher.
yeah.
Because we've been doing these 12-issue
Monster
explorations, which we're after Preacher, we've done 3 in a row now.
Yeah.
No, we're gonna take a break from 12-issue ones for a few months.
Yeah, we're only going to do 10 issues. All right.
Ooh.
Was that going to be our cap?
You mean the episodes will only be 7 hours long?
We did Long Halloween. We're in the process of doing For Tomorrow, and I'm working on Preacher right now. That's like well over 36
Sean.
issues worth of content.
How long did it take us to get through the first issue last night?
Wait. Well, we did like a whole episode on the first 4 issues of For Tomorrow because of that lead-in discussion. So
That opening discussion was 71 minutes on the first issue.
that book is deep, though.
Yeah.
Ooh, is that
So
book deep?
It's literally for tomorrow because you ran into tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah.
Tomorrow breaks forth the petty pace of day.
Yeah. It's definitely one that I encourage people, though. We were really like page by page on that book, so you could really sit there with your For Tomorrow. And I do encourage people when you listen to this episode, it's actually going to be our it's not going to be our next show because the way I'm doing, because of how much we recorded now, it's not going to be our next show. It's going to be, our next full show. It'll be in a week.
One other thing.
We're having 2 shows this week, Jim, and then we're going to have a show right after that. We got like 3 shows worth of content here, Jim. This is nuts.
And one other thing that I wanted to mention before we ended here is that I was actually on last night. I talked my butt off on Comic Book Roadshow with Tamalo, obviously a fan of Raging Bullets. Definitely wanted to mention that here.
Awesome.
And Daryl and Gabe and Umar were on, and we were all talking Torchwood.
Nice.
Yes.
Children of the Earth was fantastic.
Hell yeah. But it was one of the most depressing sci-fi shows I've ever watched in my life.
Oh, but it was good. I've never been so happy to watch something depressing.
But yeah, that should definitely be out, if not by the time this is out, but a little bit after that. So stay tuned.
The Black Lantern ring is now on a Hawkman action figure. A full-blown Hawkman action figure. It actually looks like a belt.
Yeah, kind of like a shieldish.
Well, no, kind of like a pro wrestling belt.
Yeah.
It looks like a pro wrestling title. He won something.
Well, that's good because Hacksaw Jim Seguin's in the room.
Yeah, there you go. But
Okay, tough guy.
I want to thank you both for taking time and joining us. Tonight. This was a fun discussion. Jim, when you come back, I think we'll do a little bit more discussion of the San Diego Comic-Con because there's a lot of material to discuss there. But enjoy your vacation, Sensei.
Yep.
Yeah.
Heading over to the Garden State and gonna hang with Sensei brother.
Well, if for some reason you wind up in New York, I doubt you will, but if you wind up here, you got my number.
Okay, groovy.
Alrighty.
4.
Yeah, that's the number, 4.
Yes. Just yell it really loud. I'm sure I'll hear it.
Just wanted to remind you.
Oh, guys, it's been too
the phone
long.
number is 867-5309.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't sing it, so there.
But I
Thank
did.
you.
That's what matters.
I gave you the setup, and you put it in. All right.
I missed you guys. You're fun.
One person's fun is another person's mental issues.
Holy caffeine!
You know, I wasn't going to do the voicemails because Jim's out of town, but there's some really good ones with starting with some commentary right here from Ziggo on Blackest Night. So I figured let's get those in there because they're current, and I'll give you some of my thoughts on it, but it's great to hear their thoughts as well. So I was going to save these, but I even feel with some of these a week is too long to wait on them, so we're going to get them on now.
Hey guys, this is Ziggo from the forums. It's been a while since I called you guys and left you guys a voicemail, so I thought I'd say hi to you guys, see how you're doing and all that stuff. Actually, the reason why I'm calling is because I have a really good theory on who the Black Lanterns are trying to resurrect. You know, every time they kill someone, they're trying to power up a ring or a battery, and they're trying to bring someone back. And I have a theory of who that person might be. I personally think that the person they're trying to bring back is Darkseid, and I can tell you why right now. In Countdown to Final Crisis, Darkseid got killed by Orion, right? So Darkseid died there. So he's already dead. In Final Crisis, he tried to come back, but we don't know if he really came back. He took over the body of Dan Turpin. So we're still not sure if that counts as an official resurrection, you know? And then obviously you know that he killed Batman. Now, I think it was Blackest Night #1, when Black Hand is licking Bruce Wayne's skull, he's telling him, you're connected to all of them. And you're trying to figure out, well, why is he connected to all of them? Well, it's simple. Darkseid was the one that shot Bruce Wayne with the Omega Beam, which explains why Bruce Wayne isn't a Black Lantern yet, you know, because we don't know what Darkseid did to him. He's still in the past. So my theory, and this is just a theory, that it might be Darkseid that they're trying to bring back. Either that or Batman. I don't know. But I'm going to stick with the Darkseid theory. So that's it. You guys keep up the awesome work, and I'll see you guys around the forum. Bye.
I don't really have a theory right now on who I think they're trying to bring back. You know, who this great power is going to be as far as for the Black Lanterns. Could it be Darkseid? My only caution with it being Darkseid is it seems almost too soon with the fact that he was the big bad in Final Crisis. Because I do think that his resurrection in Final Crisis does count as a full resurrection when he took over Turpin's body. That was, you know, that was a new form for him. We were seeing that the nature of the New Gods were that they adopt new forms. He had the form that we had seen him in Seven Soldiers, and then the Turpin form was the next form for him to take. So I took that as being his resurrection. But again, like I said, I don't have a theory myself, so hey, could it be Darkseid? Sure, maybe, I don't know. So I don't really have a theory of my own otherwise. I'm just kind of enjoying the ride right now, Blackest Night, so hey, your guess is as good as mine. Maybe it is Darkseid. As far as what is happening to Batman and why I think he's connected all of them, this is just my theory on that, because I do have a theory on that, because I can't stop thinking Batman. But he's going through the Omega Sanction, and what that is when you got zapped by Darkseid, you're supposed to be living successive lives over and over again. And Bruce, because of that, would be this... and that's just my theory right now. Because of the fact that this guy's dying and resurrecting over and over again, basically living lives over and over again, that would make him the portal, I'm guessing, for these people. I don't know. I know Blackest Night Batman's supposed to be addressing some of this. I'm guessing from this we might be getting some clues as to what Bruce is going through. I don't think we're going to get full answers from this. If we're going to see Bruce, we might see him, I'm guessing, maybe in some spirit form. I don't know. It could be that Bruce stays the Skull the whole time, but I do think we're going to get some clues here to Bruce. I'm very cautious to think that Bruce... I don't think we're going to see Bruce... My personal opinion is I don't think we're going to see Bruce as a Black Lantern. I don't think we're going to see Bruce as this thing that they're trying to resurrect. At least that's my theory. I'll be honest with you, I think your Darkseid theory has a better chance than the Bruce Wayne theory right now. Because I think Bruce Wayne, for some reason, what he's going through with the Omega Sanction is making him the conduit. But that's, again... I'm not pretending I'm 100% solid on any of this. That's just my personal guess. I would love to hear more theories from anybody. This is great commentary. Ziggo, you may be 110% correct on Darkseid and you've figured the whole thing out. I don't know. I would love to hear what some of even if it's not just about this particular topic, I love when listeners call in and give us your own thoughts on comics, old, new, present, whatever. Obviously, Blackest Night's a big, hot topic right now. I can't get enough. The miniseries myself has just been mind-blowing. I loved that this third issue had like a director's cut. If you haven't been picking up Tales of the Black Lantern Corps, that third issue, it had two great stories in it. Kilowog being one of them, Arisia being the other one. But then, on top of that, it had this real cool director's commentary on the Zero issue, which it was cool to see so many of the different production people, including Jeff Johns, talking about, and the art, talking about how just this whole thing came about and just some things that we might have missed in there. I'm a big fan of that kind of stuff, and I hope to see more of that in these type of minis. But that's just my personal thoughts on that. I really liked it being in black and white and getting kind of to see the pencil work of it as well, which was kind of fun because I like to see that. And then it's cool because I get now an appreciation too for what the colors brought to the table, because even Jeff Johns was talking about the color streak that came from the whole thing, which was kind of cool to see, be able to kind of compare the pencil work to the colors and really get to appreciate what was done on the pencils, really getting to appreciate what was done on the colors. I'm a fan. I geek out at that kind of stuff. So it's kind of fun. But Ziggo, as always, my friend, Ziggo's on the Comic Tube podcast. I've been checking that out. Please follow a friend of the show, Ziggo, on Comic Tube, because it's a very cool podcast. And Ziggo, I met Ziggo years ago in New York, and Ziggo's somebody I consider a friend now, as I do a lot of our listeners who we've had the opportunity to meet. And please feel free, anybody, call in. And this is exactly what, in my eyes, what the voicemail line's for.
Hey, Sean and Jim, this is Rick Croxton from the Book Cave. And you probably already talked about it on the in an earlier episode about the Legion of Three Worlds Final Crisis, number 5. Well, I'm a huge Legion fan, especially the original, and I was blown away by how good this issue was. Sure, it took a long time to get to number 5, but it was worth the wait. And my theory on about the Time Trapper and Superboy Prime has turned out to be true. That Superboy Prime may have been the Time Trapper, but he wasn't the Time Trapper. My theory was that a Time Trapper was different people at different times. So pretty much, let's see here, the panel Brainiac 5 is that, let's see here, including the Time Trappers, including the Superboy Prime's alternate destiny, becoming the Time Trapper was just one possibility. But when he was interfaced with himself, it's like hitting a giant cosmic reset button. The Time Trapper, as we knew him, is no more. And as for Prime, the trauma to his body has certainly left him powerless for now. But I said, so the next Time Trapper, who knows who that would be? But the thing is, the very next page, you see Superboy Prime on Earth Prime, and he's at home, and his parents and Lori are all scared of him, and they're showing him this issue of Final Crisis, and they say, we know exactly what you've done. And it's like, and the next page, after that, you kind of get a little catch up. You find out that there still is 3 legions. Each one has their own little thing that they're doing, which I think is really great. Everybody, it's a win-win proposition. And one of the epilogues, you have the Black Witch, who used to be the White Witch. It should be interesting to see how this plays out in future issues. And then of course you have, all 3 Brainiacs and talking about that. You see Starman. And Brainiac will wonder why he hasn't came back yet. And then, of course, the Brainiacs are going right there. And you have all 3 going, long live the Legion. And they get sent home. But this is very excellent story. You get to go back to the present, where Superman is over at Titan's Tower, and he asks for all the Titans to appear. And it says, Superman didn't say anything else. He just wanted to meet us here. And, there's what it says. Superman didn't tell you either, Kara? Talking to Supergirl. It says, no, but I'm sure he called us for a good reason, Cassie. And Superman goes in the background, I did. And they're all surprised. They see Connor Kent, Superboy, and Bart Allen, Impulse. Well, Kid Flash. And they're back. And it looks like they're going to stay in the present. Because, that's the part I was confused about with Connor Kent. It took him 1,000 years to get into, come back to life. And I don't know, there's, a lot of time, time paradoxes and stuff like that. What's going to happen with Connor if he stays in the present? I don't know. Either or it could work. Then, of course, the epilogue on Earth Prime. I think Superboy Prime is more scary and more completely evil. It's completely off his rocker without his powers and at home than he ever was out there. Because now he has nothing left to lose. Because he's home, but nobody, it's not the home he was before. He's a different person to them. And it says, it starts right there. You got them, his father ironing his T-shirt, and his mother making a sandwich. And he says, "Where's my lunch? Where's my grilled cheese, Mom?" And you got very nervous. "It's coming, honey." So he says, "Well, you better hurry up, and no tomato soup this time. You know I hate vegetables. And you don't want what happened to Lori to happen to you, do you?" And, of course, he's living in his mom's basement, like any good comic book fan does. And they break the fourth wall. And he says, "I've been waiting for this stupid thing to end. Hey, don't think I don't think. You're thinking the same thing." And it's like, this is very weird. You kind of wonder, what is going to happen next. You have this young Clark Kent with the red eyes, and he has a black T-shirt with Superman symbol with a bloody-looking Superman symbol. And it says, "They think I'm powerless. They think I can't do anything from here. They're wrong. They'll never get rid of me. I always survive." He's on a computer on the DC universe. And I can't quite wait the little sprint, but he will be back. But will he go against the Earth Prime Legion or what? I guess we'll have to wait and find out. Well, thanks a lot, and thanks for listening to this here, and hopefully we'll get in touch with you again sooner, and we'll be able to talk some more. Thanks, and goodbye for now.
Thanks for the great call, Rick. Superboy Prime. Woohoo. That Legion of Three Worlds number 5 issue was just fantastic. Rick actually is the host of the Book Cave podcast, so if you haven't been checking out the Book Cave, please do so. The Time Trapper, I was really satisfied with that too, because I know a lot of people who were longtime Legion fans were very concerned about how this affected yet another version of the Time Trapper, and it was a great way to use time travel and the nature of the Time Trapper to show that now, because of the fact that history has yet again been changed, that this explains that, yes, he was a version of the Time Trapper, but like you said, now it could go back to being the Time Trapper that everyone's used to. Could be a new version of the Time Trapper. Who knows? We're going to see down the road. I'm sure Jeff Johns has some stories to tell with that character, the Time Traveler. Actually, it shows that, being a Legion fan, that Jeff Johns probably wants to play around with versions or a version of the Time Trapper from the past. So this gives him an exit strategy for that as well. Superboy Prime, he said in his panel, I think it was his Spotlight panel, or one of the panels from San Diego, he made mention that Superboy Prime will be appearing in Adventure Comics. I thought he said issue 4, but please don't quote me on that. I know it's not right at the start of the run, but somewhere a few issues into the run that there's going to be an appearance from Superboy Prime. Probably in his home world, I'm guessing. Probably part of the Legion backup on some level. I don't know. But one of the things I'm really excited about is with Connor and Bart being back, and Adventure Comics is going to kick off in present day with Tim and Bart. I'm hoping that Connor, and this is just I would love actually if anybody wants to call in if you have a view that you would prefer Connor to go back to the future or something like that. I actually have no problem with him traveling to the future and doing kind of like what Superboy used to do in the classic stories, where he actually lives in the present day but then has adventures in the future. I always thought that concept was kind of cool. So it'd be kind of fun to have Connor do that from time to time. But my personal opinion is I would love to see Superboy Connor Kent stories set in present day. The art on the Kent farm is just breathtaking so far of what I've seen in those preview pages. So I kind of like to see some grounded Smallville stories with him, and yet maybe see him on the Teen Titans in the future or something. I don't know. It's interesting to see. I'm sure there's a plan for this character, and I'm anxious to see that play out myself. But my personal pick is I definitely want him, if there's a choice between the two, in the present day. If we have the option of both is my number one preference. But the bit with the parents, you're right, a Superboy Prime was particularly great. Super scary. This guy is the brat, the selfish brat, who was willing to kill and do so much to get back home because all he thought was important was getting back to his world. Now he's got that, and it's not enough for him. It's... He feels at this point that now his parents don't even understand him, and that he knows, again, this selfish brat continues to know more than everybody else. Very consistent. I actually prefer this to, like, all of a sudden he gets back home and everything's hunky-dory. No, we've seen that this kid snapped. He's crazy. And, of course, the second that his parents don't acknowledge him like it's the second coming, he is snapped, and Lord knows what he did to Lori. Maybe we'll see what happened, and in some ways, it's almost better that we don't, because I'm sure whatever we're all thinking in our heads is far worse, maybe, than what Jeff can put on the page. Of course, I might have taken that back if Jeff actually shows it on the page, so we'll see what happens with that. But, like I said, that's a Hitchcock kind of thing where you could leave it off the page as well. Keeping all three Legions was, to me, a great move. I'm a fan of... I've actually read all three Legions at various times. I'm currently was heavily into the Mark Waid run, but the classic Legion coming back with Wildfire, I'm a big classic Wildfire fan, and Dawnstar and all that, especially with Rebels right now, kind of showing some background history to these not these characters in particular, but a background history for like Wildfire and Dawnstar, perhaps that could show how that all came about as well. It's real interesting to me at the moment, that whole cosmic world, future world, everything that DC's kind of crafting at this point. So I like the fact that the backup features, Jeff Johns mentioned that they could feature any of the three Legions. I like that Starman from JSA, which I think is a character that he just made really, really charming. I'd like to see more of what he tends to do with that character. Will he get back to the future? Will he be cured back there? Now that he'll be taking the medicine again, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that character. The Black Witch, White Witch stuff was really kind of interesting, how she's taken on that role. How will that affect her ultimately? And I want to see that story play out. Not quick. I want to see some development over that. How does that affect the rest of the Legionnaires, those closest to her? And how do those who maybe weren't as close to her feel about that particular... so there's some great storytelling that can come out of this one. But I don't know. Earth Prime is kind of cool because of the nature of the fact that he went back to Earth Prime. This was the place where, Julie Schwartz was, met the Flash, and, different comic creators were able to see that their JLA stories played out on these other worlds for real. So, he's got now access to a resource where he can read those stories. The black shirt, I took it to be he read one of the first things that he would read when he went back home. Well, the death of Superman, a story that he would have missed because of the fact that he vanished during the crisis. So he never got to see that story play out at home. Now he's got a chance to read it, and it would make sense with how much he hates Superman. One of the first books that he would read that he missed reading when he went and dug through the comics would be Death of Superman. He has the option to do that now. In this world, Earth Prime, where he came from, he's reading all the stories. He's posting on our forum. How creepy is that they've got, you're right, they broke the fourth wall. This is a character, but Earth Prime is supposed to be our Earth. This guy exists here. So how is that going to play out? Is he going to wind up traveling the multiverse again? Is he depowered permanently, or does he have powers back? What level of powers does he have back? I can't imagine him not coming back in some form to wreak havoc at some point. But he is a character that I'm curious to see how they play with him and what they end up doing with him and what Adventure Comics looks like with this kid and what it looks like on his world with him. It's an interesting character. So you're right, that issue it was worth the wait. Sometimes you say to yourself, delays and all that stuff, does it annoy you? Sure, yeah, would I have loved that book on time? Absolutely, but ultimately, at the end of the day, when I read that issue, it was incredibly satisfying. And I had to go back and reread the whole series because I needed to kind of refresh myself on where everything was. But it actually was a wonderful, wonderful read and well worth the wait. And I'm excited for Adventure Comics now, all the more, because of how much of a setup that is for Adventure Comics. So just kind of my 2 cents worth. But thanks for calling in on that one. We did talk about it on the show, but it was one of those things where we talked about it speeding bullet style, and you kind of took me on a tangent a little bit more in depth on it than we had the chance to go with on it. And that's just a great book. This to me is, again, I talked about it with Ziggle's call, great use of voicemails just to kind of really get a topic going again. Remember, the voicemail line is 1-440-388-4434 or Dr. Norge on Skype. We love you guys participating in the show, so thank you so much for calling and participating. Please feel free to do that at any point in time, whether it's a quick blurb about a comic you just want to chat about real quick, some comment about an event that's going on in the universe. Even if you went to a con, you picked up a classic issue, and you just want to rant and rave about, hey, I picked this up at a con, and what a great run this was that I grabbed, or anything like that. It can be past, it can be current, something in the future you're excited for. If there's something we didn't talk about in San Diego, there was some news from Kurt Busiek, especially coming out of the San Diego Comic-Con over at Wildstorm. The fact that Astro City is going to be going monthly. The monthly series is coming back, for example. And his American Gothic book sounds particularly cool to me, coming out of Wildstorm. Just for example, some news we haven't gotten a chance to chat about now. Tons of Vertigo news. So I'm hoping we get a chance to revisit some of the San Diego Comic-Con stuff when Jim comes back. We got a lot of stuff on tap for the show. But certainly, if we haven't talked about it on the show and you want to rant and rave about it, DC, Vertigo, Wildstorm, CMX, any of that stuff that you're reading and you want to call in and get it on the show, please do so. We love that. Thanks again, Rick.
Carter Hall, scientific genius from a far-off world, flies into action as Hawkman.
Our next episode is going to be Sunday night or Monday. I haven't really decided yet. I might give it a full week between shows. I got to talk with Jim and see where we're going to be recording next. So please check the website and the forums. I'm not trying to be deliberately vague. Monday will be 7 days from this particular episode, which a lot of times I like to put between shows, and especially seeing as we came back so soon with this one. I think I'll pay attention to the downloads and see how much time you guys need to kind of really download this one and get kind of caught up with the shows. But we'll be back either Sunday night or Monday with the first part of Superman for Tomorrow. We're going to be joined by Life in the Gutter's own Mandy Stegall as we talk about that particular book. And I'm really excited to finally get down and break down this book because there's a lot going on in this story, and there's a lot of ways to take a lot of the things that are happening in the stories. As we do that, I encourage you to consider participating in giving us your own thoughts on For Tomorrow. Go ahead and call in. You're welcome to call in and have that on that particular episode, but it is going to be a multi-part episode. For right now, I don't know if we're going to have it 2 parts or 3 parts. It all depends on where the discussion goes, so I can't really say that at the moment. I know we're going to get a Speeding Bullet show in there as well to talk about some of the current books, so we'll see how that all kind of plays out. Jim and I have to discuss that when he gets back and decide how we're going to be releasing some of that content, and then we're going to be going on to Preacher after that. So I want to thank you guys for joining us and listening in on this episode. Remind everybody about the Hero Initiative. That's heroinitiative.org for more information. But also Comics Force site. Please make sure to check that particular site out. That's comicsforcesite.com. COMIX4SIGHT.com. If you have a chance to go to the Chicago Comic-Con, make sure it's Saturday evening, August 8th. They're going to be raising money for John Ostrander. Remember, if you donate, if you can't be there, I'm not going to be able to be at Chicago this year, unfortunately. So because of that, I chose to donate because I really firmly believe in this. If you can't be there, please make sure to donate. Consider donating. Even every little bit helps. Don't think, geez, I can only donate a few bucks. Hey, if we all donate a few bucks, it adds up really fast. So please make sure to consider doing that. The cost of a comic book goes a long way when we're all doing it. I look at the number of listeners of Raging Bullets. If we all donate a few bucks as a community, we're doing something to help somebody who's one of our own. And that's really important. If you take a look at the amount of comic creators that are giving time to podcasts, to forums, to comics communities, at conventions that are being there. Remember a lot of comic creators, when they go to conventions, a lot of times they're selling their work to pay for their table, not making a profit. A lot of times they're doing that just to be able to be there to get a chance to connect and meet with you. So, this is a great chance for us to kind of, show, hey, this is a community thing here, not just fans and creators. We're all working together to help one of our own. That's John Ostrander. So please consider participating in that particular program. Also want to thank our sponsors, DCBService.com and InStockTrades.com. Arkham Reborn. Remember, that's a 3-part miniseries. Number 1 of 3. 50% off, $2.99 regularly, $149. World's Finest, written by Sterling Gates, who is just incredible on Supergirl at the moment. Art by Julian Lopez with covers by Phil Noto. After tracking down a threat to the Man of Steel and all of Metropolis, Red Robin must team up with the new Kryptonian Nightwing to end this mysterious threat and rescue Flamebird. But is all this just a red herring to distract the heroes from an even bigger threat to Gotham City and New Krypton? Be here to find out in this 4-issue miniseries written by Sterling Gates and artist Julian Lopez. And remember, that's going to be 2 different covers. It's 75% off, so it's $2.99 regularly. 75% off. You can get that for 74 cents if you just want to buy 1 copy, but you also get your choice of cover from DCB Service. You can pick cover A, which is Nightwing, and cover B, which is Red Robin. So you can pick either cover. I'm going to probably grab both at 75% off because where do you have an opportunity to do that? But I want to thank DCBService.com for continuing to support our show and our listeners, and also for providing those discounts. InStockTrades.com. You only got a few days left to pick up Absolute Superman for tomorrow if you haven't. Our next episode is kicking that off. Brian Azzarello, Jim Lee, Scott Williams, Superman 204 to 215. We've been telling you about its Absolute Edition. You can pick it up at $75 regularly, 47% off, only $39.75. You can pick up the 2 trade paperbacks, Volume 1 and Volume 2. Regular price $14.99, 47% off, only $7.94. Orders of $50 or more get free shipping, which is nice when you're counting those savings in there, that you get free shipping as well. So consider checking out InStockTrades.com for those purchases. And Preacher will be coming up soon. So those of you that have been waiting for those discounts for Preacher, that will be up sometime this week. I will post on the website and on the forums when that discount's available. So definitely look for that. And check out RagingBullets.com. Mandy, Super Mandy from the forums, is doing Life in the Gutter there. We have other listener-produced columns, Where's What Not Now's, DC release dates, show news, more. We're always looking for submissions and participation. That's ragingcontest@gmail.com. I just put some sketches up there recently. One of our listeners, this is very cool, his son, 5 years old, sent in a whole bunch of pictures. It's in our sketches section. I get a charge out. It reminds me of my own childhood, drawing and coloring these characters myself. It's great to see little bulleteers out there diving into these heroes as well. He entered them and got a whole bunch of contest entries out of it. So those of you got children that are really into DC superheroes right now, I'd love more content from kids as well. So feel free, if they're drawing things or, if they want to call into the show voicemail line and give us their thought on some of these characters. I think that's really great. I love the little bull tears, our other listeners as well. So please, especially with some of the Johnny DC titles, feel free to have them call in on those titles and anything else they're in. So any age group is welcome to call into the show and participate as well. I like this show being an interactive experience as much as possible. So please consider that's ragingcontest@gmail.com if you want to participate in that. And we love having you a part of the show. And we will see you next week.
Bye.